What's up, guys? I'm back. I'm a little early. It's all right. We're going to jump in over here at Prime's. At least watch it.
Yeah. We'll.
I think me and Hunter clearly won. I think pretty directly.
I think we're going to win.
I'm
excited for the lactoid.
I'm still confused at
what
your guys' prescription is. I'm very confused.
Whatever it was, it was.
You guys had no prescription. Okay. It was just mumbo jumbo.
I'm the doctor.
Mumbo
I bring the prescriptions. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I fucking laid it down. We wrote the script.
You get sued enough. You're a bad doctor. You get sued a lot for malpractice.
We wrote the script.
The way you do hypotheticals and the way you come out with prescriptions.
I'd sue myself and then defend myself, make money off it. What are you gonna
do? You should tell that to women, Latra. They call
me a better lawyer than a doctor.
I got a prescription for loving.
Yo, Grid. Yo,
mute yourself, bud.
Yeah, mute yourself, friend.
You probably can't hear, I imagine.
Yeah, no, he can hear.
He can hear if he. Yeah.
So, why don't we get started? And we'll see where things take us. But thanks for being here. If you're here, follow the channel if you haven't done so already. On all our platforms, YouTube, Kick, and Twitch. Follow the channel, support the channel, subs the channel, resubs the channel, all that good stuff. Okay, and let's get started. All right, the topic: the Senate just passed the 21st Century Road to Housing Act with strong bipartisan support. The bill will create grants to fund housing construction, remove zoning and permit barriers, and more crucially, limit private equity's ability to buy up housing stock. This would have wide sweeping effects on America's housing market during a time of high unaffordability. Do you support this bill being signed into law? Do you think this bill goes far enough? If you're against this law, what solutions would you put forth to address the housing crisis? Trump also signed 2 executive orders on Friday, 2 Fridays ago or whatever, to tackle the housing issue. Do you support this multi-pronged approach to get Americans into homes? This bill got passed, not passed. It got through the Senate, but it's on its way. We got buy-in from both sides, and there's a housing a House version, right? House Representatives version. That's supposed to be weaker than this. I'm not exactly sure what provisions are different, but it's these bills are going to go into reconciliation, and we'll see how that turns out. What survives that process. But I've heard that the Senate bill, it's a good chance that many of those provisions will make it out. We'll see. Some of these parts might be a little bit controversial, especially the private equity portion. And I'd really like to focus on that. But I'm curious what you all have to say. We'll go around the room. Start with our friend Lactoid.
Yeah, I'm Lactoid. I have Lactoid TV, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Generally opposed, obviously, to the grants, government money, bad. Generally good, yay, taking away, restrictions, regulations, all that good stuff. The zoning and permit barriers, I'm actually pretty in favor of that. I think that zoning should be replaced with HOAs, which will solve all the problems. Wonderful, beautiful HOAs, and remove all zoning, and just have like factory HOAs and stuff too. That'd be fucking hell yeah. I'm a fan of that. I think really the thing that maybe I'm wrong, because you never know how this goes. Maybe the thing we're going to run into a roadblock here and litigate is, I think the big thing, which is institutional buyers of single family households. I mean, people have been talking about this. This was actually something that is sort of almost agreed upon by both sides of the aisle. Like, there's a strange level of bipartisan agreement here. I just don't think this is a thing, really. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, institutional buyers of single home houses is what, less than 1%. I mean, we're talking a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction. The idea that this is what's responsible for housing costs, I think, is myopic. It just doesn't seem to be backed by the data, and I think that this is a little bit more of a. I think the fact that it's such a small deal is, to me, makes it feel a little bit more like a political baton than anything else. Which, hey, look, we're doing something. Focus on this. Yes, yes, yes. Look, we're going to stop the big investors from buying your house. And then they're going to pepper social media with all sorts of anecdotal examples of this happening. But again, I really think this is a distraction. So that's my take.
Thank you so much, friend. Let's go to our friend Corey.
There's definitely a lot of the points that I agree with Lactoid, in terms of, let's say a little bit of a deregulation, modifying zoning laws and all that stuff. And I also take the point and agree overall, from what I can tell, of like this aspect of private equity and then buying up housing. That doesn't seem to be like a major problem, or like, yeah, pretty much represents a very tiny fraction in terms of like the amount of home ownership by private equity. Like, from what I can tell from the data, the vast majority of homes are owned by individuals or families, and not private equity, as Lactoid pointed out. Where I deviate from Lactoid is like, well, yeah, with the grants and all that stuff. But also, at the end of the day, like, what matters, at least for me, when it comes to legislation or policy, is like, well, is it actually effective? So if at the end of the day, okay, I'm more than happy to, let's say, support this, see how it plays out. If it actually, let's say, in 3 to 5 years from now, it doesn't actually end up addressing affordability, then probably something should change. But as of now, I think this is a good experiment to run to see how it works out. Then hopefully we can actually have data and track things and see whether going in the right direction, or rather whether the United States is going in the right direction or wrong direction. And I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you so much. Let's go to our friend Hunter.
Yeah, so housing is one of those things in America that is one of the most studied and most well-known phenomena in in politics. It's super easy to understand what the issue is, which is largely zoning regulations. It's preventing housing supply from being built. My main issue with this piece of legislation, Lactoid mentioned it, I don't think that there's anything in here about zoning regulations or about things like transfer taxes or building codes that actually prevent cities from blocking construction. So when it comes to the Housing Affordability Act, I don't think that this is going to do much, if anything, at all. I'm all for grants if they're used in very narrow, specific ways. I mean, grants are good when they're good and they're bad when they're bad. And to me, there's some competitive grants in this analysis. In this bill, there's competitive grants that let people experiment with different types of housing policies, but this kind of feels a little foolhardy considering we kind of know the types of housing policies that work and don't work, because we've had 200 cities in the United States try, like, already experiment to begin with. My big issue, largely speaking, is this obsession with big institutional investors, and that's hopefully where me and Lactoid are going to agree, that it's specifically Title IX of the Road to Housing. It says something like housing is for corporations, not people. This is like we're running out of food in America and we're saying we need to ban McDonald's. It's like, if anything, they're going to be helping the situation. Why are we banning corporations? They make up less than 1%. It doesn't make any financial situation. It's this complete myth that BlackRock is buying up properties and then holding onto facilities, and that's what's limiting supply. What's limiting supply is city council meetings that prevent prevent housing from getting built. But that's all. I hope that we can have a substantive debate on this. We'll see with the we'll see what we can do.
We'll see what we can do. Let's go to thank you for that. Let's go to our friend Ali.
Yeah, I don't really understand legislation much. I'm not gonna lie. Reading this doesn't make sense. However, when I hear talks about housing, I like Hunter. You keep talking about zoning and all that. I never see that as the issue. I see the issue that there are multiple people who own apartments and like apartments and houses that are putting them up for rent, and they make all this money off of their rents, but then they keep jacking up the rent, but they never fix the houses, and then when they finally get caught, when it catches up to them, they can't fix it. So on, so it's like that. Then the zoning becomes the issue, and the legislation becomes the issue. I don't know. It just seems like people are making hand over fist when it comes to the like rental properties, and when it comes to like BlackRock is owning everything. I think people feel that they can't afford a house; they have to rent, right? So it's not necessarily that BlackRock owns everything, and it's not like huge, but there's a lot of people who have enough money to buy multiple houses to put them up for rent, or the people that own the apartment complexes, or the companies that own the car. Like these are the people that they have to resort to every single time. So it does feel that regardless, if you're saying 1% of people own 1% of companies own the property, or they own 1% of the property. Sorry. It doesn't feel that way for most of the people, considering that most of the people are renting. And who are they renting from? They're renting from like the owner who's making money off them. So it just feels like a company or a business it's just a business that they're functioning for. So I actually, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Well, first, before we begin getting into this, I have some announcements to make because, why not use our intro as promo time? Papa Gibbs now monetized all across YouTube. Pretty excited about that, so go check that out, guys. Secondly, we are having our second best month of all time this month so far. We reached our goal. We are now going to be marathoning, so for the rest, probably several days. So I'm going to be bringing a bed in here at some point tonight. We'll be doing the whole sleep good jazz and all that fun stuff. So you're ready for the old school Gibbs marathon. Tune in. As for the Housing Act, I like deregulation. That's great. I don't necessarily like that they're trying to get private equity out, though, because fuck them. Corporations are good. We like that thing. See, Hunter and I agreed on something. We like corporations.
What is
You agree by default.
People.
You agree by default.
Or corporations are
This is the
people.
first time we've ever agreed. Fuck you.
This is not. We've agreed several other times. This is the main one, though. But yeah, corporations are people. I'm excited to try to convert him via capitalism to find out what the difference was, because I didn't know as much as I thought I did about this, which is not that surprising because whatever, it's not even out yet. But hey, let's keep going. I'm excited. Red, I'm ready to hear you.
All right. Well, give me 1 second, guys. I just had to take a phone call there. I apologize. I hate doing that, but
Not a problem.
You're good, man.
All right. I'm actually one of those evil landlords, right? Like I have a real estate trust that owns a bunch of properties in Columbus, Ohio. We're looking at buying properties in San Antonio. We're looking in various other cities across the country. The reality is to be honest with you, the law that was passed doesn't really do anything for people like me at all. Doesn't stop a single thing that I do. None of the things that Ollie talked about, this law will help at all. None of zero, absolutely zero. As a landowner, as a property owner, I'm not a slumlord. So like all of the properties I have, I keep in very good condition and I constantly improve them because that's how the value goes up. If they become piles of shit, nobody wants to live there. First of all, rents go down. I hate it when the rent goes down. I want to charge the most possible rent that I can. And second, if I do need to sell that property, I need to get some money, right? Like I'm greedy. I'm greedy. I'm just gonna be honest about it. We're all greedy. We need to be honest about our greed. And so I want the most amount of money possible for that asset when I go to get rid of it. No matter how much it's paid me out, I still want more. I still want all of the money. But the actual law only affects people who have over 1,000 properties. Now, the interesting part of this is that I can have a corporation that has 1,000 properties, and I can have a second corporation that has 1,000 properties, and I can do that as many times as I need to. And this law would not affect me, not one little bit. Anybody that thinks that you can legislate any kind of morality is in fucking dreamland. So that's first thing. So let's not even talk morality here. Like you guys are insane if you want to talk about the morality of being a slumlord. What we could talk about is, well, how does it negatively affect property values? Well, it can, but it can also, but it's not negatively affecting it in the way that you think. In general, slumlords drive property value down, and that way it makes it easy for people to buy cheap houses, because nobody wants to live in their neighborhood with a bunch of fucking slumlords. They just don't want to live there. So, but now in my case, I bring the property value in my area up because I improve my houses. I make sure they're painted. I charge maximum amount of rent for it. And I actually, my goal is to, when I sell a property, I need to make, I basically need to, I want to clear a little over $100,000 per property, period, like minimum, like absolute minimum. So if I have $60,000 into the house where I paid, with the down payment and any remodeling costs and what it costs me to rent it, make sure that my rent covers the mortgage on the property. This is very simple math. And then as soon as that property accumulates to where I double my money, I consider selling it. Right. So if it's make $120,000 or so, that's fine. But more than likely, I'm just going to keep it and watch that ticker go up. And again, I increase the property value in my areas, which is why everybody hates me. Now, people don't hate me because I'm a slumlord. People hate me because I take a $100,000 house, and because I put money into it and because I add value to it, it becomes a $400,000 house. And now your dumb ass can't afford it. And that's not my fucking problem. Just don't be poor. That's it.
Okay, I just want to clarify something quickly. So, Grid, based off what you said, well, you can't legislate morality. So I assume you want to get rid of laws against murder, then, right?
I'm sorry.
You want, as in you said, you can't legislate against morality. Mm-hmm. So I assume you want to get rid of murder laws, correct?
Abortion's already legal.
I'm sorry, Lactoid got me there. How does a murder law legislate morality when you're allowing abortion? How is that even fucking close? You dumb fuck.
That doesn't answer my question.
Seriously,
that doesn't answer my question.
The dumbest thing you've ever said. You said some dumb shit.
And we're off to the races, boys.
That doesn't answer my question.
I've ever heard said on this panel. And
that doesn't answer.
You want to tell me?
Sure.
Murder has legislating murder is not morality. There's no morality to it. What moral does it encompass?
So an unjustified killing is not morality for you.
Well, it may be justified in my eyes.
Okay. What? This is okay. Wait, hold on. You said we can't legislate morality.
If there's more murder around the houses, the housing price goes down. Okay.
Now Lactoid's the one talking. Yeah, Lactoid.
I'm just saying.
So Lactoid, you agree with this, right? As in,
yeah. If we more murder, then the housing prices go down,
and that has nothing to do with morality, right?
Solved affordable housing.
Exactly. So you also want to get rid of murder laws, right, or laws against murder, right?
Vagrancy laws, anything that can make houses cheaper. I'm in favor.
Okay, good, gotcha.
Okay,
I know there's a
obviously
he will never
obviously when we say we shouldn't legislate morality, what we really mean is that when we
can't.
No, not that we
no, I'm just saying.
That's what he said.
You can't legislate morality.
You can't legislate morality. What you mean is that you can't do it on the front end, in that you can't just write into laws what you specifically want the world to do, because obviously you can. I mean, we saw this during Prohibition. You ban alcohol. It can lead to events where there's actually more alcohol than before, and it's just harder to regulate. But obviously, whenever you're writing legislation, you're making normative claims about what you want the society to look like, which is, in a sense, morality.
That's the dumbest thing ever.
Wait, hold on. How is it in a sense morality? What are you appealing to? Because if I say that it's not moral, what argument do you have against it?
I would say wait, hold on. Any piece of legislation is a normative claim. We're saying
normative claim is not morality. That's just us agreeing that this is how it should be. But it doesn't. It doesn't.
How else can you
anything.
derive should but from morality?
Here, let me help. Okay, because I think I know what's happening here.
Okay.
Grid is saying that when it comes to housing or any other like technical like market situation, we should be driven by. Hold on, I'm not saying that's morality.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying when it comes to these situations, we should be driven by like numbers and stats and like what actually works to achieve XYZ outcome, as opposed to perhaps what some people are like the micro morality of the situation, right?
I understand.
Like, oh, this particular landlord rose my rent. That's immoral. Well, no, like I don't think he's opposed to macro morality. I think the question is here is, there's a lot of housing policies to be driven by like micro morality.
I understand. Legislate people to be moral. You cannot legislate morality.
Okay,
you can take the moral and say this is.
So you would agree, actually, that murder laws have no effect on the murder rate, right?
Okay. Yes.
Come on.
Murder should be illegal.
This is so
I am fine.
No.
I am fine with legislating morality.
I'm going to
Corey. I am fine with legislating morality. I'm trying.
What claim are you going to make? That
I'm trying to help. I'm trying to help because I understand.
Why are we mad at Lactoid right now?
No. You're just aligned with Grid.
I'm trying to explain the situation because I think I see what's happening, and I think you're like let's bear with me for a second.
You should take one of those. So you would make them a cape, Lactoid.
You would agree. Oh yeah. You would agree that when it comes to like a technical situation, like let's say we're talking about, I don't know, like nuclear engineering or something along these lines, like it's important to look at, yes, the overall impact in the macro is going to have moral implications that we should care about. But like we shouldn't get all up in our feelings about any single case or like any individual circumstance. And I think this is when it comes to housing as well, because when you look at, I think a lot of housing policy, it's driven by, rent control, right? Where just objectively, this is horrible economically, but hey, don't raise my fucking rent. Or that's kind of similar a little bit to like NIMBYism, right? Where it's like, yes, building more housing is good, but not in my backyard. Fuck that. And so that's what I think is the thing that I think. Grid, you can correct me.
Okay.
Grid, is that what you meant when you said you can't legislate morality?
I will grant that. So then, now
wait,
we're on here.
Corey, let's listen to Grid.
Look, we can.
I'm going to hand to Grid. So then, Grid, can you summarize Lactoid's point for me?
Well, what Lactoid's really talking about are ethics, right? Which are different than morals.
Oh my God.
This is definitely paraphrasing.
We're
Lactoid's
so
point.
fucking in the weeds. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not the one that brought morality into this. Except other than saying that you can't legislate it.
I was literally in your opening statement.
Whatever. Explain the difference between ethics and morality.
Good. You can't legislate people to not take advantage of what's in front of them. If you pass a law that says I can't do this, I will figure out a way around it. That's what human beings do is we solve problems.
Oh my God. That's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life. There are
obviously two of the dumbest things have ever been said.
We can minimize that.
I can say dumb shit.
We can minimize that. We can minimize the ways that people go around laws. Are you saying laws are futile? Futile? I don't even know how to.
So did Grid just echo your point, Lactoid? Did you hear those same words that you just
That's
said?
why we should let corporations do whatever they want.
I did not hear my point echoed.
Okay. So he's not saying what you're saying. He can't even.
I think that's what he means. I'm trying to be charitable here. I think that's what he means.
He doesn't even understand your own point. Okay. I understand you're trying to pretty much.
Sorry,
I'm with to him.
I'm being charitable. I'm being charitable. That's what I'm doing.
Look, I'm just.
Yes, I am.
You don't have to be though.
Not with this guy. What are you fucking talking about? That laws don't affect the way that we handle our do you feel like laws are futile? I guess my question is.
Yeah. I think that laws are necessary. However, but
why?
Hold on.
But they don't affect any human behavior. You just pretty much said that.
You're talking about two different things.
Okay.
If you're saying that morality is the guiding force behind laws, I'm going to disagree with you because it may not be my morals. So you can't legislate those morals. You can say ethically this is what we should do. We could say that.
Walk me through the difference between ethics and morals.
Well, ethics are based on logic and reason, and you can argue back and forth as to what they are. Morality comes from God. Morality comes from my belief in myself, and you can't legislate that. You can say that ethically, that's his point,
right, Lacto? You agree with that point, right?
Right. This is unethical to do this. And I can disagree that, no, I think that's absolutely ethical. Right?
But wait, hold on. This is stupid for like 1,000.
I think we should move on. It's
What?
pointless.
Go ahead. I don't mind arguing. I like arguing.
Okay. You can only
I think we all
derive.
probably do.
You can't logically argue for ethics without an ought statement. This is what Hume proved, that like there's an is-ought distinction. You have to come at
Nothing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you want to argue any normative claims, they have to come from an ought statement. They have to come from some sort of normative claim.
Sure, but if you make an ought statement that says that you ought not kill someone, right?
Okay.
And I say, I disagree with that. I think that person absolutely ought be killed.
Okay.
What makes your morality better than my morality?
I don't even know how to handle this. What the hell are we talking about?
Wait.
You have more guns.
Claims is going to be the
right. That's actually not morality.
No, but it's enforcement of
superior firepower.
But you would agree it is enforcement of, right? Like,
it is enforcement of.
Yeah, right.
But again, you can't. You guys run from this all the time. You keep saying morals, and morals come from a belief in God or a higher power, something beyond yourself that you can appeal to. That I can't simply say, well, I disagree with that, and this is why.
Not if it's preference.
Sorry.
Because I think the line you're going down is like it's all preference, right? It's my preference.
Your preference.
Is
Your preference is not to kill this guy. My preference is this guy should be tomato paste right now.
No, but if you argue this guy should be tomato paste, I can keep asking why, and at some point I'm going to get to an axiom of a normative claim. I'm going to get to some aspect of your morality.
How about that?
Well, for him, it's divine command theory.
But then
my preference. I just don't like his face.
No. For him, it's divine command theory.
We haven't all agreed upon that preference.
Yeah, but you're saying ethically, I don't
you
have
can convince people.
It's
and ultimately, this argument breaks down to what can you convince people to agree to, right? Because as a society, we agreed that like murder, bad, whatever, it was downstream of morals, sure. But that's kind of what like you're getting to, Grid, right? Is that at the end of the day, it's all preference. And if can you legislate your preference, right? Right. That's what it feels like. Because I've heard this. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. Well, we've agreed right now that murder bad. That if you kill someone, and if you kill someone just because you don't like their face, you get to go to jail for that.
People all the time.
We did.
And don't call it murder.
We disagree. What?
We just dropped a bunch of bombs on Iran. Do you think people died in that?
I'm sorry. It broke up for me. What did you say?
Jesus Christ.
We literally just killed a bunch of people in Iran. Do you think that's murder?
Do I think it's murder? I mean, yeah.
Ali's maybe the wrong person to ask.
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah for sure.
Ali's the exact right person to ask.
But I think, but here's the thing, right? You'll do that. Like you'll say that you don't agree that it's murder, or do you agree that it's murder?
I'm on the fence because I honestly don't believe that they necessarily needed to be killed, but then again, maybe they did. I don't.
Yeah, I know. So
I heard a case.
Yeah. So it's gonna be like, yeah, well, I think they were murdered, but then I also think that like that would be terrorism too, right? Like just bombing cities in other countries. Like we don't agree, right? But like the people in power, however, the people in power get to make those decisions, and we don't necessarily have choice in that. So like that is when
my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Nobody came in and said, "Hey, dude, what do you think?" And I would have said, "Yeah, I don't know. Let's give him a pass."
Exactly. So we don't really get it. We don't really get a choice, even if we do think it's murder. We don't get to have our preference be legislated in that regard. But that's kind of what you're saying. It's broken down into like right now we kind of agreed to these set of laws. At least like you're born here, you're not leaving, right? You by choice are choosing to live under these laws. And at the end of the day, those were someone's preference. Yeah, someone's preference one is what it is.
Yeah, someone with the most guns preference one, but that's
exactly correct.
I think there's a lot of people who don't like choose to continue living in America. It's a little more complicated, right? I'm not sure people can just get up and go to a different country. It's usually a little bit more involved.
I mean,
seems
depends on how hard you're trying. You can leave America if you needed to.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm confused.
I'm gonna steer back.
No, I'm just okay.
I'm just because not a thing. Like I'm confused at what you're getting at.
No, that some people.
I'm repudiating this idea. Yes, I'm disagreeing with the general claim that by choosing to stay in America, you thus consent or agree to the way that it's run or any of the other laws thereof. I don't disagree that you can legislate morality, just to be clear.
That's
Obviously,
because you're a
you can legislate
libertarian, and
you
you
can,
know you
can
have
enforce
to
it.
make the argument
Oh,
that you're a
it's obvious.
libertarian
That's
still
not-
live
that's-
here.
I think
That's the dumbest
everybody.
thing
I
ever,
think
go
Lactoid.
somewhere else.
I think everybody agrees that you can't just get up and go to a different country. It's not so easy, right?
I mean, once
Like,
again, just
you
get
gotta
up
deal
and
with
go. No, if we
immigration,
resort it to like I'm
deported.
gonna move tomorrow, no. But like if you don't want to live here, if you agree with
If
the
you're
moral-
wealthy
with the
enough,
legislation, you don't have to be that wealthy.
you don't have
Yeah,
to be
but
that
there
wealthy
is-
to get up
there
and
is
go
a
to another
cap.
country.
There
Once
is a
again,
cap.
Well,
just get up and
technically,
go.
you
No,
just
but
start
you
walking.
can plan for it over like the course of 3 to 5 years, and you'd be able to get out just fine.
Or you could just
Yes.
walk. You could just walk.
Aha.
Back in the day.
And go to another country of which you fully consent and agree to all the laws, because there are so many of those around.
You have three.
I mean,
defined
maybe you
crap.
consent
It
to
is
or agree
important.
with more. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You may agree with other countries' laws more. Yes.
But more, you might agree with them more, but
Yeah.
you would agree
Yeah,
that
you're not going to
like,
get your perfect country, right?
Yeah,
Like, no one's
exactly.
gonna get
So,
their
so,
perfect
so you would agree that
legislation.
like I can't go anywhere and avoid taxation, so I don't agree to taxation
you can.
at all. Which
go to
country
Dubai
doesn't tax-
right now. Go to Monaco.
I first
tomorrow.
I don't think
You're
it's-
a lawyer.
I-
You should be able to make enough money to move. any venue in these
Monaco.
places.
No, I can't fucking
Yes.
move to Monaco.
Why?
What are you? It's expensive as fuck to move to
So
Monaco,
move to
and
Dubai.
the immigration is hard.
Make
and
more
for
money.
both immigration
Still
and
issue
Dubai.
So yeah, stop being poor. Make more money.
Stop
leave
being
and
poor.
Get out of your taxes.
being
There we
poor.
are, right?
There we are.
Best point made thus
It's a
far.
skill
That's a good
issue.
point. Yeah.
There we
That's a good
are.
one.
You're a lawyer.
Stop
you can
being
make more
poor.
money. No.
Ultimately,
I'm being
look,
so serious.
I love it. Ultimately, the left wing argument shift to the right wing. Love it or leave it. Stop being poor.
Listen, I've
I
always
love
said the best. I've always said the best way to debate you is to get to the right of you, and if you get to the right of you, you're
Yeah.
gold.
Look, I like it. You know, if that's where we want to ground ourselves, sure.
Where did you learn that?
I think
Where did you learn that from?
Grid has enough
From Ali?
money to where if he wants to leave, he can leave. Right.
Grid probably does, yeah.
And so he's
Well,
choosing
I
to
own
live
houses
here.
in China.
Yeah, see, but he's choosing to
There-
live
there you go.
here because he's okay.
Oh,
with
yeah.
us. He's okay. He's
Oh,
okay
yeah.
with what we've agreed
So
upon.
he should move to a more free country like China.
Yeah.
No. I mean, once again, just like when you have money, everywhere is free. You have enough money, you're
that's a solid
free
point,
everywhere.
Ollie, there is. I listened to this this guy's speech the other night about how traffic laws in California are ridiculous because they're not enforced on poor people like ever, but they are enforced on people that can actually pay the fines and everything. It's like but the laws truly don't apply to the rich people because they just pay the fine and keep going. Like they don't give a fuck. Right? They just keep going. And so the people in the middle that appear wealthy but actually aren't, they get fucked.
If you're rich, bankruptcy is the flex, not a bad position.
One of the things they do, this is one of the few things that I sort of agree with that they do in Sweden, but sort of, but not really, is fines are as a percentage of your income. So, like if you're rich and you get a ticket, it's like an obscene amount of money. Because the expectation is it's actually like it's supposed to be a deterrent.
Yeah.
Now the problem I have with it is, on one hand, I like the idea of like no matter what, like this is a punishment for you. You shouldn't be doing this. But on the other hand, I do think rich people are superior to the rest of us, and so deserve to be able to break the law more often than the rest of us do.
Speak for yourself, the rest of us.
So you think Epstein is superior
Rich
to you,
people are
or
better
was
than
superior to
you.
Lactoid.
I have one exception, and that's Epstein.
What about Diddy? What about Diddy?
One exception, Diddy.
Diddy.
Two
Easy.
exceptions.
Easy.
Two exceptions. Diddy and Epstein.
We just keep adding exceptions.
One more will come. Yeah. Just
Julian Maxwell.
His moral compass is adjustable.
yeah, it's adjustable.
He was okay with Julian Maxwell. He was not okay with the other. Got it.
Just
She's kind of a baddie, though.
Could I steer?
What?
True.
Could I
She
steer back
was.
to that?
She was.
I
No, so I want to switch back.
How
I
desperate are
promise. But like,
No, she wasn't
Lactoid said
ugly.
something
She wasn't
absurd
ugly.
here.
And them biddies were doing work. All right.
Hell
Was
yeah,
she?
hell yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
She
no.
had some
Okay.
biddies, buddy.
Yeah. And she's a ride or die. So
True.
Well, there's
True.
that.
True.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll move past this. But like,
Listen, if the Mossad is great at finding good-looking women to do their work, all right.
Not snitching on Julian Maxwell thing.
So we devolved to talking about chicks that'll go to jail for you. That's
Hell
what
yeah.
this conversation is about.
What better way to drive down housing prices? Well, like you said before,
I actually walk outside my backyard. And
before you're gonna buy, walk into the neighborhood, pop a couple off.
We
You
can,
know,
we can bring this back. Hunter, zoning. What
cut down
this
20,000.
legislation? You said it doesn't do anything for
Hunter.
zoning. What the fuck does zoning have to do with the fact that there's already abandoned apartments or housing or like all these abandoned homes? Can you explain that?
Yeah,
There's mad abandoned homes that like apparently I can't buy and live in or fix or whatever the fuck. Why?
Yeah, so abandoned housing, specifically when we're talking about abandoned housing, oftentimes we say that there are more vacant homes in America than homeless people. They're 10 times the amount. This is a completely warped statistic. Specifically, you're saying abandoned and they're saying vacant, and those are a very big distinction. When it comes to vacant houses, I can show you the data analysis on it, but largely vacant homes can be split up into 3 different sections. The first section are houses that are on sale or on the market, but are vacant because no one's moved in there yet. I don't think that should count as somewhere that
That's a fucking
house that
flex,
homeless people
Bo-State.
should move into,
That's a
because
fucking
obviously
flex.
that is taking a strain off of
That's a
housing
flex.
costs because they're on the market. People will be moving in there soon. Second are seasonal homes. And the third are abandoned homes. Those abandoned homes are largely in places where homeless people are not, places in the middle of the United States that no one wants to move to. And they are also so depreciated that they're a hazard to human beings, so that you shouldn't move in because there's like chemical waste or
Well, as
there's
opposed
a
to
reason it
street,
was
right?
abandoned.
Like
What?
we're saying this as opposed to street living, right? Like I mean, some people take
Yeah.
the chemicals,
which is probably better than a lot of these abandoned houses. To
right?
to give Hunter
so
credit here.
Genuinely, yeah, I would prefer them
Yeah.
living on the street than these houses.
Because
Okay, so like-
there's so many houses like black mold, unstable floorboards,
Asbestos.
shit falling in on you. All like there is genuine risks with a lot of this dilapidated housing for sure.
Fair, but like the issue is, I hear this all the time that like the issue with the affordability in the housing crisis is that the zoning doesn't allow for building new homes, right? Like
Yeah,
that's,
we're super underdeveloped.
Yeah, the NIMBY thing that you can't build apartment complexes, so on and so forth. But then like the issue for me is,
Okay.
if someone builds a new apartment, that's going to cost a lot of money, and the rent isn't going to be any more affordable. It's going to be less. A new apartment building isn't going to be cheaper, right? It's only going to be more
it drives down rent.
No, yeah, it drives
So
down
it's-
rent because wait, hold on. Let me explain.
Supply
this real
demand.
quick. Because
okay, so
wait.
yeah.
I live
Go ahead.
I live in a super new apartment
Yeah, yeah.
complex. I actually just moved. This
Flex.
is a brand new, it's like a 15-minute city. It's fucking awesome. Okay. But it's way more expensive than where my previous place was. But here's the thing. I moved out of my previous place, meaning that they are going to have fewer people. There's more spots that are opening up in other
in the quote unquote
areas,
cheaper apartment.
in the cheaper apartments because I'm
Yeah,
moving
but
out.
wait, okay, that's beautiful. I love how you think that's how that works.
Okay.
Because when I was bouncing around in Detroit, there's a bunch of new development in Detroit. And it's very nice and it's fucking expensive, right?
Right.
What happens is when the people move out of these older you moved out of your place, it was $1,600 when you were living there. It's $1,750 for the next guy that's moving in.
Yeah. Now, why
So,
is
like,
that?
so
why would that be? Why do they not have competitive prices?
Well, they don't need to have that is the
Right.
that is the
I agree. They
competitive price.
don't need competitive prices, and this
Yeah,
is largely because they don't have enough competitors.
Well,
And
even
there's
if you
more-
had
there's more open
competitors,
units.
when you build the new units, the prices are going to be higher. So it's not competitive. It's not going to bring the rent down. Like the
Yes,
new
it will,
units
because
are gonna be more
I'm-
expensive
Because
and
there's,
the people aren't going to have the rent
filtering.
deflate.
It's called filtering in economic principles. It's the idea that I am moving out of
to the more
older
expensive
place.
apartment.
Yes,
Which
Yeah,
which
exactly.
drives the prices up because look, we have this new
What?
development that costs $1,900, so we can't charge $1,600 here. We're going to charge $1,750.
What are you talking about? First off, they're going to have vacancies in their apartment, and they're going to want to fill those. And if they can't fill those quickly enough, they're going to lower the prices.
Usually
That's why.
they
Wait, hold
can.
on.
Usually most places don't have problems filling
I
their
agree.
vacancies.
Why would that be? Why would people be flooding into that fucking spot as quickly as possible? Because holy shit, a new place just opened up. I got to move in there right now. If it took like 3 or 4 months to fill these spots, don't you think that people will start dropping those prices to start incentivizing people to come and live in those places?
What I'm saying is like, okay, so I'm looking at like places to rent in Michigan right now, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like you can't get anything for less than $1,700 that's worth a damn. And if you hit the 1,500 mark, you might as well be living in like the actual ghetto. It's pretty fucking bad. These houses are bad. They haven't been renovated since like the 90s, early 2000s. Right. But it's like 1,700 is like the new average, is kind of what I'm saying.
Okay.
And so it's like all this new stuff that's going up doesn't seem to be making things more affordable. It just seems to be like the new stuff is more expensive, and then the old stuff has to is just getting, because there's nowhere else to live. Right, like if you want to live in like
they're not building enough.
If you want to live in like a decent city or a clean area, it's just like this is the new minimum.
This is okay. Like
okay.
Do you want to see like 1,000 stats on this? Because like this is the most.
Yeah, this is just empirical.
I understand the stats, but like I understand that there's stats to it, but then there's also the lived experience of like people can't find rent or afford their rent.
I fully agree, which is what I'm saying. Unless you live in fucking Houston or Japan, yeah. Prices are going the fuck up because people don't allow building to occur. Building is illegal to build in most cities. You can't upzone
in most suburbs.
No, in most anywhere.
Well, hold on. I maybe I missed something here, but I mean, Japan housing market right now is actually pretty flexible. I've looked into buying some houses there.
Sorry.
Yeah. But, no, hold on. You're right. Because Japan has a declining population, so they're having more houses on the market.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Once again, supply and demand, right? I mean, ultimately, the price of living, the price of housing is, can you compare the amount of places available and the amount of people that want to live there, right? And obviously, you take into account the financial ability of the people that want to live there.
And surface level. Let me tell you what we got going on here.
Let's go. Whatever the fuck's deeper. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah. Let's. So what we got going on here
right now, we're surface level.
It's just going to be
always better when you go deeper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, this was about a year and a half ago. They figured out that there were about 18,000 surplus apartments in Nashville. The reason is not that there aren't people to move into them, or that people that that don't need housing or couldn't, or not even that people couldn't afford them. They just built so many of them that people just don't want to live there now, and people don't necessarily want to live in an apartment in the city when they can move outside of the city and commute in and live maybe a little cheaper and definitely maybe a little better. So what they've got all of these apartments, but the banks aren't foreclosing on them because they obviously don't want to lose money. The contractors will not reduce the price of per unit for rent or to buy them because they lose money. So they're just in this holding pattern of not allowing people to live there because
they're going to have to drop the prices at some point.
At some point, it's gonna come down like a house of cards, and
they're going to have to.
That takes out an entire level of basically pricing structure in the community, because now a 1,200 square foot, well, not 1,200, probably 1,000 square foot apartment is going to be, it's not going to be $4,000 a month anymore. It's going to be $2,000.
Well, they're going to try to sell that building.
You literally
try to sell the building before they take the loss
because
on
of low
rent,
demand.
No, you literally just described like a bubble. That's what that is.
Yeah,
The bubble. Everybody's predicting the price is going to be a certain way. I don't think it's in every major city, but maybe
we overbuilt. We overbuilt. Well, maybe not New York.
I'm sure there's some places. I know, and specifically, you brought up Nashville. I know Nashville. I know, for at least historically, in the past 5 years, there's been massive demand in Nashville, and that's driven up housing prices dramatically. And so, it wouldn't surprise me that there's a lot of intention of, okay, let's build more housing there to try to, kind of cash in on this while also bringing the housing price down. And then maybe they overestimated it. Right. Maybe they built up more than they expected. Or maybe they charge too much, or too luxury, or there's all sorts of things that can contribute to the bubble. But at the end of the day, unless they want to lose more money, they're going to have to rent out those apartments, or they're going to have to sell them. And if they have to sell them at a loss or rent them at a loss, they're going to be renting them cheaper to meet market demand, which lowers housing prices. Ultimately, just like any other good, housing is very responsive to supply and demand. Of course. That's what we're talking about. And so, we can't address the demand part.
The demand to live places is you're never going to necessarily be able to meet it, right? People have to live places. People want to live close to their families, so on and so forth. But that's what I'm saying is the issue. The issue is you guys are saying that there isn't enough supply, so that we're going to build more supply, and that should drive prices down.
Yes.
Right. So I've never experienced prices go down. Maybe prices stay same.
That's like saying
with inflation they go down.
That's like saying I've never experienced evolution. It's like shit. sometimes this takes such a long time or such like a macro analysis that really you have
where you're at, right? Like
test this empirically.
Like when, just for example, I was looking at properties today in the Mesa, Arizona area, and in all the way up to Prescott. They're down 3% a year right now in home value. They were pushed way up because you had people from California and New York and other places like that moving there. A lot of people from Michigan, cold places,
High demand
to the desert. And then of course they figure out that it's the fucking desert and nobody wants to live there. And then they move back, right?
Demand drops.
Demand drops. And for about the demand was really up high for several years right after COVID. And then it's sinking and it's losing 3% per year in home value. Here in my hometown, same kind of deal. We had a lot of people move in from out of state, New York, California, all over the place. Drove the housing prices up ridiculously. And now they're settling back down. And as a matter of fact, I've got a property that 2 years ago, according to like Zillow and a bunch of the other, which is irrelevant, doesn't mean anything, but it was worth about 800 grand. They got it at like 300 today, which is about what it is actually worth. I mean, there is an actual value to that property. It's about $300,000.
Yeah. So it's dropped down to its actual value. So it's not
they don't go
necessarily that
back
you lost
up because
right?
it's it's land, and land they don't make.
Yeah.
They're not making any more of it.
But that's the issue, right? It's not that you kind of like it drops back down to like equal for you most time. Hopefully you break even. To like is the worst situation, but like if something jumps up 300% but then drops down 100%, that's not really like being less. That's just
but it can happen though, because what happens is people like. They say, well, I'm okay living an hour and a half from Nashville and commuting in because I get this house, and this house is like $500,000.
And then that opens up housing in the urban area.
And all of a sudden, this, a place where the houses are 180 grand are all of a sudden $500,000. And then people go, yeah, man, it really sucks to drive an hour and a half into work every day. So then they go to sell it, and of course the value goes back down to that 180 or lower, and it actually you lose a bunch of money. That's real estate speculation 101, normal shit. And people do lose a lot of money. Now, people who just don't allow that to happen and who have absolutely no feeling about a house. Like I look at a house, I don't care where it is. I don't care what it's like. I'm looking at a numerical value and just factoring a bunch of different things in, and that determines whether or not I'm going to buy the house. I'm not looking at it going, wow, that house is pretty. Oh, I like the neighborhood. Oh, it's got a good school for my kid. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at how far is it from this? How old is it? Is it up to code? When's the last time the roof was done? I think there's a whole list of things that I give a shit about, and the rest I don't, because I'm looking at it as an asset, something that I'm going to be trading in. And that's just a mindset issue, really. And you,
by the way,
but I want you all to realize something, that if you guys went out and took out a 50-year mortgage, and that sounds insane, right? But if you just paid on it for the next 5 years and then sold it, or even refinanced it into like a 15-year, you'd save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest, and you would have a very cheap payment for that period of time. And that's going to fuck rent even worse. Because when somebody can buy a house for cheaper than they can rent a house for, they're going to do it, or they ought to do it.
50 years, yeah.
I think that would also push rentals a little bit lower, right? Because now the rentals are trying to compete with them.
It could, but there's a floor on rentals, because we have costs, we have overhead, and we're just not going to let it go.
No, I hear that, but even okay, couldn't you buy rentals and then on a 50-year mortgage too?
I'm waiting for that to happen. I'm waiting to.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Ollie,
right now you can't. So. I mean, this okay. So you understand what part of what really happened to make all of this real estate bullshit happen is Obama and Biden, when they were in office, they removed the controls on the bank that said that you couldn't use like Lactoid as just a home buyer. He could not go out and buy an investment property on a conventional mortgage. He had to use a commercial loan, which costs it's a higher down payment, it's a higher standard for income, and you have to have a track record of having to do it.
I didn't know that.
Those controls were removed. And so what happens is Lactoid, who knows nothing about fucking real estate, but he's got a little bit of money, and everybody says, hey man, buy rentals. You'll make money. Your mortgage is $1,300. You rent it for $1,500. You pocket a couple of hundred every month. Your mortgage is paid for in 10 years. You have a house for free, right? That's a sale, or 30 years. That doesn't happen because there's a lot more costs involved, but it's a good line. It got people to buy a lot of houses, and it got people who ought not not own 6 houses owning 6 houses. And that's what caused that's between 2005 2008. That's what caused that whole mortgage.
Thanks, Obama and Biden.
Well, I blame honestly. I blame the banks for that, because if you remove the controls on the banks are going to do exactly what they're going to do. So when Trump was in office the first term, he put the controls back on, and we were checking with one of our bankers, and we're like, hey, we would like to do this house on a conventional, because we might actually move into it. We don't want a commercial loan on this house. And they're like, no, can't do it. You already own a house, and you can't buy another house. You'd have to live in this house for a year before you could rent it out or anything, right? And we didn't want to do that, so we went to a commercial loan, no problems, no big deal. But I kid you not, when Biden was elected, my banker called me about within the first 3 months and said, hey, that loan you were talking about, yeah, we can do that now if you want to. Just come down. We'll take care of it, because they removed the controls once again, and it's a very, I mean, it stimulates the economy, because people all of a sudden will start buying houses left and right that they ought not buy, and it creates a lot of volatility, which I like volatility because I make money every time that happens. But when you're messing with this in this way, and with banking, because banks are going to make money regardless. They're just going to make money every time they turn around, so they don't care. One of the things we've noticed is that we haven't seen the same number of auctions. We see what houses that are in default that should be foreclosed on that are not getting foreclosed on. We see a lot of different things and going on that I don't understand. We think that the banks have come up with a way of wholesaling the houses on bad mortgages out, and that benefits me too. Because
okay,
all right, Ray.
Sure. I want to go ahead.
Grid. I mean, Grid.
Yeah.
You have to understand that a lot of people are worried about their rent increasing, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say the mechanism should be in place in order to affect that?
You can't put a mechanism in place to lock rent down.
What? There's no way that you can lower rent?
How would you do that?
Build more houses.
Build more. Thank you. Build more houses.
Yeah, you could build more houses, but build.
Not gonna drop.
Okay, all right.
You guys are
crazy. I like the energy.
I'm not crazy. Don't make me be 1-1 with Grid over here.
More construction workers.
Grid never agree, but he's right.
All right, Grid. Let's hear it. Why would that not lower
reality-based point of view?
Examining.
Build more houses. I love it. Love the energy. I'm actually trying to build some houses right now.
Excellent.
What do you think in 2021 or 2022, a 3-2 on a 1/8 of an acre lot, which is just a standard McMansion? What do you think the build cost on that was? Just
no clue.
Round number.
That
Totally depends on the location, right?
As well.
Well, no, just the build cost. Build cost. You already own the lot. You're building. You're putting a house.
Wait,
on
the build cost is the same per state?
More or less.
I mean, yeah, dude.
Lumber costs what lumber costs. Labor costs what. Labor
okay.
Labor doesn't cost what labor costs. It's going to be different based on the minimum wage.
Yeah, like wouldn't it be more expensive?
Hold on,
like,
did you just say minimum wage?
Well, hold on. I can imagine like if you're going to be building in Long Island,
you build in fucking Utah
versus Mississippi,
they're not getting minimum wage
versus
to build
California.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I don't have a single minimum wage person anywhere.
No, okay, but prevailing wage. Okay, minimum wage was a bad thing. Fine. Prevailing wage, right? In Long Island,
is better. Or that's better.
Yeah. In like Manhattan,
but like on average, just say it's
on average, it's going to cost for a 3-2 back then was about. The lumber costs could vary a little bit, but more or less, you're looking at about $125,000 to $130,000 to put a house up. That house would be then worth
when?
300, huh?
When? 2021.
21, 22, 23 in that area.
Okay.
in anywhere in the United States. In any,
it's under 200,000
To build a
hold on,
McMansion?
hold on, under 150,000 to build.
For the build.
Why couldn't I go do that?
Are you a contractor?
No, but I know where they live. I can
right.
like go.
Okay. Do you know
Not
how
a
to
threat,
negotiate with them? Can you do that? I mean,
Oh wait, sorry. Are you saying just the material costs are that?
No, I'm talking about, a carpenter crew, you're with your framers, plumbers,
Yeah.
all of these guys. Yeah.
Why couldn't I hire them for
You
130?
could. Why don't you?
But I couldn't. I can't build a house for 130,000.
Okay, well, I'm
That's
sorry
the
that
dumbest
you
thing I've
can't.
ever heard, Lacroix.
McMansion.
I'm sorry.
Like
that you can't do
a
that.
fucking McMansion, not some pee-wee little.
McMansions aren't that big.
McMansions
Grid.
are cookie cutter. They do them in 6 weeks.
For
You're so dumb,
120?
Lacroix. How can you not see?
No, wait, stop.
I don't know. I don't know if it's
That's my
120,
thing,
but they're
that's
not. Well, how
freaking
much do you think they are? Wait. I don't know
How
if it's
much do you-
120.
fuck, you guys are insane. When a
But
house,
I'll give it.
how much-
I'll explain.
When a house was
Yeah,
$300,000,
I'll explain.
do you honestly think it
Yeah,
cost $300,000 to build it? No, it cost $125,000 to build that house.
They got to make money on the house. when
We
they're building
understand that part.
Insane.
it. Okay,
So
so it's like,
I-
what do you
stop,
guys
stop,
think
stop.
a house
I
costs to
understand.
build? Just
Okay,
go off of that.
I'm gonna guess, and if I Google, I'm gonna Google what the actual cost of a new construction is. I think I'm gonna be right. I would guess.
I've already got it in front of me.
All right, well, okay. I haven't looked it up. I'm just gonna guess.
Yeah,
I think that if I wanted to build a standard 2,000 square foot
He
house,
said mansion, by the way, standard mansion.
I'm not even talking about mansion.
It's
I'm not even talking about mansion. I'm talking about like a 2,000 square foot fucking suburbaville house. If I wanted to build that, if I wanted to go and hire all the contractors to put the whole thing all together, I'm guessing it'd run me $315,000.
Right now,
Prime?
right now, or back then, but right now, you think a house is like 315,000.
Sorry, wait, hold on, one second. Sorry. What was the cost that you specifically said?
He said
there? I
315.
apologize.
315
No. To do what exactly?
to build about 2,000 square foot house.
You
in
own the
suburbia.
land.
In the suburbs.
2000. Okay, so I'm just
assume the
gonna.
lot cost is out of it.
So okay. I'm gonna read you what it says here, and it's above. This is a 3,000 to 5,000, but like we can scale the cost here.
Okay,
right?
fine, a little bit
So
more.
this is building a McMansion, typically defined as a large mass-produced home ranging from 3,000 to 5,000 plus square feet. Generally costs between 1 million and 2.5 million for the structure alone. And then it goes more.
To be
into
fair, I said
detail.
2,000 square feet. Okay,
Ray just
I
doesn't
was.
know the
yeah,
number of zeros in a million. That's all. He's just off by an order of magnitude,
And then
right?
like
I'm
it
telling you,
changes
my
from.
build cost is
I think
region
he might be the
and
only
so,
millionaire
you know,
here.
So for structure,
You're a developer.
in the Midwest, in rural areas, it says like
thought you
for
were
the
a
structure
landlord.
and the land would be from
Why wouldn't you be both?
750,000 to 1.2 million for the structure
Okay.
and the land.
Okay,
Well, land.
so
is,
I mean,
land is what land costs right now. Land.
the-
I mean, right now we're looking at anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 an acre, depending on where it's at.
Okay,
because look, when you're right, when the 300,000 when they're selling that, which I mean for new builds it's going to be more than that. But if you're obviously they have to make a profit, and also, but if you're paying contractors to build it for you, they're also going to have to make a profit, right? I don't. In what way? 120,000 would be crazy.
All right, so on my property, or right next to my property that we're building on, they built it's a fucking. Hang on, I will actually just pull it up and see.
And to be clear, I want to be clear. That was from Google's AI mode, just to be clear,
So
right?
so wait. So if
it's
it's so okay.
be
So
honest.
if it's 1 to 2 million to build a McMansion, how much is it to build an apartment complex?
Millions.
A lot more.
Or renovate, or
65,000.
renovate, right?
Right.
Millions.
And then
That's
and so
Yeah.
like once again, these people that are building the rent, you're making the city better, right? You're adding more to the city. You're so on and so forth. I just don't see how the property value goes. Why the property value would go
315
down.
was probably low.
Wait,
honestly.
Ali, how are you
probably should've
not
said higher.
understanding that when the supply increases, the costs go down?
Because
I'm
because
lost how that's lost.
because I think like part of this equation is that like we're acting like there's a set amount of people as like we build more housing, it takes like 5 years, but then over those 5 years we have 5 years more of people that are renting, right? There's 8 new 18-year-olds every single one of those years, right? There's more people to rent.
Yeah, but
too.
there's old people that die.
Right. It would obviously
Yeah,
be
but not as
relative to the
much.
population. Wait, hold on. It would obviously be relative to the population. If the
Right.
population is increasing as well, then sure, yeah, we're going to need to increase relative to that number as well.
This is why
Just-
Trump said when you deport the illegals, housing prices are going to go down because
Right,
there's fewer
because
people.
supply is lower.
I mean, yeah, if you're talking about like how
or
many
demand is
millions
lower.
of people,
But
tens
you're
of
also losing out on a
millions,
lot of construction crews.
Exactly.
so prices are just going to go by. It all equals out, is what I'm
It doesn't
saying.
just all equal out. It's just
okay. You're
there's
getting
just a
really
lot of
angry,
mechanisms.
but like once again, I'm coming from a place where I own my house. I'm not really worried, right? I'm just kind of seeing what the fuck's
Wait,
going
hold on, Ollie. I have a question.
Yeah.
Your housing sorry, the cost of your house is increasing. Yes. The worth
cost
of your house.
of my house.
The worth
Like
of your
the-
house is increasing.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Okay, cool. Because it's an appreciating asset, right?
Yes.
Do you not look at that and go, what the fuck is going on? Because if you drove a car,
No, it
and
makes
the
sense that a
price
house is
was
an appreciating asset, though.
why? Why could it?
Well, okay, considering that if you're supposed to take care of your house,
because I have
if
an
the
explanation
neighborhood-
for why it's
wait.
an appreciating. Go ahead. Sorry.
well, I mean, hopefully, if the neighborhood continues to grow in a positive like trajectory, right? You're going to get better schools. You're going to get better. The taxes are going to go up. You're going to get better roads, better parks, so on and so forth. So, man, obviously, your house is going to be worth more than the thing that you bought. It's a house. I don't see it as a car, right? Something that should be better maintained. It's something that is going to go up in value with like the community and the surrounding area getting better.
But largely speaking, the community
Like
doesn't need to
gentrification,
get better.
unfortunately, is going to be the answer, right? Gentrification would make your house be more.
Depends on what we mean by gentrification.
The neighborhood becoming
oftentimes
better.
gentrification
There's
is
a positive
really,
trajectory
really.
to your community. That to me.
That's not gentrification. Just to be super clear on
I
the
understand.
definition.
I understand, but I'm saying
You don't
like,
understand.
No, I do understand. I'm saying if your community gets better over time, right? Then your house is obviously going to be worth more because your community is more desirable to live in.
That's gentrification.
It makes sense. Yes.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
gentrification.
Obviously,
is
gentrification is when
specifically-
you go into like bad neighborhoods and you try to buy them out and push the people out of the neighborhoods. I understand that, but I'm saying like in the
push them
simplest
out by
terms-
making it better.
Yeah, in this, yeah, in the
No.
it's by making it more expensive. But
No,
I'm saying
no,
in
no,
the-
And how do they do that?
Well, by buying it out, right, and making it better.
And doing
quote-unquote.
what? Yeah, how do they make it better?
Well, I mean, you got according to you guys, buying it out, making it better should make rent cheaper. So
That's exactly my point. That's why
Overall,
gentrification
it
is
does. Overall, it does.
No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why gentrification is a really poor term. Gentrification is the specific use of buying up an old, emaciated apartment building and then renovating it. It's not when you build new housing; it's when you're renovating older apartments.
Well, when
You
most
can
people are
al-
talking,
you can also
when-
build new
yeah,
housing
when
in
you're
an
building,
area.
but then
people-
that doesn't
people
gentrify
buying
that
broke
doesn't
people-
gentrify local residents because in fact more
It can.
openings will occur for them.
Yeah.
Because
No.
it filters that process
Okay.
out for them.
I know what you're saying, and you're like, okay, you're like partially correct, but in very like micro scenarios, this doesn't always hold.
I understand.
You can like through certain housing builds and overall area like improvements,
Gentrify neighborhoods,
you
yeah.
can gentrify neighborhoods. Now, does this still overall decrease housing supply across the board because you're building new housing? Yes. The areas that like there's other areas that become cheaper for sure. And I agree with you that there's also a little bit of a counter effect here of when you build more housing in an area that also that has a lowering effect, like a lowering pressure
Right.
on the housing price as well. I'm just saying that you just got to be a little bit careful because you can, depending on the house you build in a very like localized area, potentially increase the price.
But yeah,
But
so
then
you were saying I
also
was
low, but
wrong
then
about that,
there would be
Hunter?
filtering. There would be filtering into a different city. Then
Yes.
wherever they're moving
100%.
from, wherever
Yes.
they're moving from, you're essentially going to be helping someone more.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Correct,
cool.
correct.
So then I think that that's a poor use of gentrification. We should specifically be looking at when we're renovating apartments rather than just building new apartments. That distinction matters a lot to me.
Well, if you're building new apartments, the idea is that the surrounding apartments should be getting renovated as well, right? Like you're not gonna have because you're not gonna have new builds that are worth a lot of money next to shit builds that are worth no money.
Yes, you
and
do
people just
all the
moving into
time.
the new builds while living next to the shit builds.
Hold on. Of course that happens. You have luxury apartments in a thriving city, and you have like 2 blocks away, you have shitty apartments. Of course that happens. And those shitty apartments those prices will go down because all of the people who were moving there, who wanted to live in nicer places, will move out of that driving demand down.
Once again, that's the idea that it drives
if they can
demand down.
afford to.
There's the wait. So most apartment complexes have like waiting lists of people who want to move in.
Yes,
and
because
they're
supply is
denying
low.
them. And they're denying them. So the people that move out, there is a huge supply of people that want to move in. I don't know where you think the supply of people wanting to move into places ever decreases.
Wait, hold on.
Or that the demand ever decreases for wanting to
Have
live
you heard
anywhere.
about Gary, Indiana? There are situations in which people want to stop living in an area. Like people
if the
flee
area
certain areas.
if the area goes down, right, then the property values ultimately go down, but that's not
Yes.
that's not like
Gary,
legislation
Indiana is very
that's
affordable
wait,
right now.
that's not legislation's making things more affordable. That's just the city being on a negative downslope. Like you can't help that.
Right.
Right.
But the
People
reason
are leaving the entire city if the city is fucked.
But look at the effect, right? So yes, people leave Gary. Like Gary's population has dropped by like more than half. It's a travesty. And there's not all these people anymore. So there is a lot of houses compared to the amount of people that are there.
Yeah.
Compared to. And so because of that, housing prices in Gary
Yeah, and how
are
many
very
people
cheap.
are moving to Gary, Indiana willingly, not
Very
because
few
they
people.
have to, because of the affordability, because they got pushed out from whatever neighborhood.
Wait,
into
wait,
whatever
but
neighborhood,
we're,
right?
wait, it's a
all you're
self-correcting
doing is
problem.
all you're doing is funneling these. All you're doing is funneling the brokest people around. That's all that's happening. It's not becoming more affordable for them. It's just you're funneling them around to honestly, they're going to end up paying a little bit more rent than they were, but in the previous place. You just
Well, let's look here. Let me make a hypo for you because I know you love my hypos. If there was
They're the worst of them all. The worst.
I got good hypos.
on how
I
to
did good
do
on the LSAT.
Go ahead.
I got a really high LSAT score. Okay,
Holla at me.
let's say there was one house
Yes.
and no other houses could be built. How much money do you think people would pay? How much value? What it would cost to buy this house? Do you think?
I would spend
Are there
$20 billion.
Are there huts and tents and things, or what's going on? What's
There's
this like?
nothing. It's either
There's
this
nothing.
house or you have to live in the fucking trees.
I
Like
think
you got to
we would
live
be-
on the fucking
we would just have to
on the
constantly killing
pavement.
each other. People would just be constantly.
Yeah,
killing
it's
each
like
other
Mad
within this
Max. It's
house.
like Mad
Yeah.
Max. It's awful.
Worse than Mad Max.
But everybody respects this one rule, which is whoever owns the house, they own the house.
Oh, okay.
What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think this house is gonna like sell for?
Sell for? I don't think this person's ever gonna be able to sell this house.
What do you mean ever be able to sell the house? Of course, you can sell the house.
There's not gonna be a price.
Because who
that
wants this
anyone
house?
can-
And everyone
No,
screams,
no.
please, I want the house.
This is Lactoid's hypothetical, right? I don't think he's ever going to be sell the house, because why would I sell the house that I'm living in when there's no other houses?
Did you ever think of that?
So there is going to be no
Own.
price. It's going to be an
Own.
infinite.
So yeah. So you would have.
Yeah, you're
Millions of
thinking that,
dollars.
did you, Lactoid?
No. Hold up. I can work
Why
with
would
this
I
answer.
sell my house? The only
Yeah.
house.
I can work with you. I can work.
I
with this
build
answer.
another house. I move
So,
to that house.
No.
You can't build houses in this hypothetical.
You can't build houses.
The original price drops for the second
Yeah.
house because I built another
Yeah.
house.
So what
which is
I
my
would
point.
get it.
If there are
Hold
no
on.
houses, then we just
I'm
start
getting there.
building
I'm
them.
getting there. I'm trying to get there. We're gonna get to the second house in a second. Right now we're on the first house. Okay.
The first house.
We're on house number one.
Am I doing
This
you
is
proud?
Stop.
It's Schrodinger's house.
No, it's not.
I'm questioning that LSAT score
It's a
now.
new
Wrong
It's a new
hypothetical.
invention called
Corey.
housing, and this
Oh,
is the first
God.
one.
Owns his
And
own
now
home.
we haven't
Okay.
gotten to the second.
Guys.
understand
I know.
It's
It's
just
very
insane.
exciting.
Yeah, go ahead,
It's
Lacto.
insane.
Let's
Very,
do this.
very. Everyone's very animated. I understand.
No, I'm just answering.
So, in the first house,
your
in
world, I'm just
order-
living in it.
In order to convince the guy to sell the house, you would need to get him to part with the house. You would need to give him such sum of money that would convince him to go out and live in the trees with the rest of the animals, right?
Yeah, for
You have to
sure.
give him a fuck ton of money. He's
Are there
going to demand.
businesses- Is there things to do
He's
with
gonna-
this
stop,
money?
Stop. No, please,
Is there
just follow.
are there things to do with
Yeah,
the money?
Yes, there's things to do with the money.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Awesome. As long as
Yes.
there's places to go on
There's
vacation.
Tons of things you can do. Yeah, there's all sorts of shit you can buy, but just
Cars,
not
but no
houses.
houses.
And so
Resorts,
you're
but no
gonna
houses.
yes. And
No,
so
no, no,
you're
wait,
gonna.
Here's critical.
And so you're gonna have to pay him a ridiculous amount of money because
Ungodly amounts of money.
ungodly amount, right? Because
Money-
it's the
mon-
one house.
yeah.
It's
I
the
don't know
one
how I
house.
made this money. I don't know
It's so
how I
much
made
money.
this
Yeah.
money, but
Oh,
you're
it's
true,
worth so
you're
much
right.
money. Okay, now let's say we add a second house.
True.
Is that first house as valuable, Ali?
No, it's not as valuable. It's still
Why not?
it's still pretty fucking valuable.
Oh,
It's
still
not as
pretty valuable. I agree.
Because there's more-
But is
because
it? But is
because
it
there's
as
more
valuable?
of them because there's more supply to meet people's demand.
Uh huh.
Yes.
And that lowers the price.
If you have the supply,
and that lowers the price,
If you have the supply, it'll meet the people's demand. All we need to do is build a
and that
house
lowers
for every
the price,
single person, and every person that's coming up, and then
I just need to know, if you build the second house, does that lower the price?
100%.
Okay, cool.
Okay, if you build
Where
3
are you lost
houses,
then?
that would lower it down even more, right?
Even more.
Whoa.
Yes, if you go from 0, to 100, the price of the 100
we
isn't
use
really
So
some
let's
mathematical
keep
deduction
adding.
here.
Yeah.
And then the housing prices keep falling, right?
For initial buys, yeah, for sure, every time. For the initial, if we start from
Where are
0,
you-
then yes.
Okay, walk us through where you.
Wait.
where this is-
I want you to
Where you got
understand-
lost?
I
Where
want-
between 1
no,
and a million houses? Which number did you?
Because you guys were working from infinite amounts of money down, right? But right now there is a set amount of things. There are things, right? And there's prices for
Correct.
shit. If you build a new
That's true.
apartment,
There are things.
once again, I need you to show me with
We
the
got real
empirical
deep
data where
level
the
analysis
prices are
here
going
today.
down for the other apartments due to just because there's more apartments. Where
Yes,
is
I can show you empirical economic
Hey,
evidence
this is-
that
this
building
is-
housing
this is beyond
lowers the
links.
cost.
This
Let's
is the
get
most
these fucking links going,
studied.
baby.
This
We've
is the
had this
most
debate.
fucking
I have
subject.
sent this to you.
Like, I can pull you 20 fucking graphs where we talk
Yeah.
about. Oh wait,
Oh,
Send
wow.
in the graphs, Hunter. Help me out.
When you send me the graphs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the local listings of the local rent of any place that I want to live, and I'm just going to show you how high it is and how it's
Wait,
not.
You're going to
going down.
refute those
But
graphs
not-
with
wait,
your
but not
I'm gonna
comparable.
lived experience.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to refute your stats with what? Anecdotes. Because that's how
anecdotes.
we do this, baby.
Chad,
That's how we
live-
fucking do this, baby.
who needs
'Cause-
numbers when we got lived experience? Good point.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of, yeah. Because is it true that millennials are having a hard time because of avocado toast? What was it? We're doing too much avocado
True.
toast. That's why we can't afford
Yeah,
anything. That's what the
because,
stats said, right? That's where
I had
our
that
data
Starbucks
is getting
new
us.
ones. I had not.
Yeah,
heard
true. That's
You
clearly
know?
true. I've seen millennials with avocado
Uh,
toast, so that must be true.
Okay, so I want to try to engage in here, right? Because I feel like we're making our friend our friend Hunter sad. And
Yeah, me and I'm on Lactoid's side. This is crazy. You
No,
guys
it's just
are-
because Hunter thinks
I
because he
wanna-
got the new, more expensive
I want
apartment that
to-
the guy behind him got.
This happens a lot,
This
Hunter.
is filtering. This is such a fucking known phenomenon. This is like the most
what-
studied
yeah.
shit in economics. Is build more housing shit happens. It
Build
fixes
more
everything.
housing. Housing is so expensive to build that the rent.
It's illegal to build. That's the issue. It's fucking illegal. It's
Or,
illegal.
or artificially more expensive because of the regulations.
Why is it illegal
and,
to
and
build?
OSHA
Because wait, hold on. Let me stop.
Which is why we
Yeah, why
abolish
is it illegal to build?
OSHA.
Actually, I want to know.
Stop.
Prices
Stop.
go down.
Hold on. This is my shit. Don't fucking. Okay, cool.
I've never
Why
been so
is it
happy to be
illegal
like
to build
sitting
in
on the
America?
sidelines for a
Why is it
panel.
illegal to
This
build in
This
America?
is great.
This is a great question.
Yeah,
Question.
why?
Is it illegal? Okay, great.
Yeah.
If you want to build a house in America as a developer, you have to go into a city council meeting and start advocating for changing the zoning so that it is allowable within the city's regulations.
Mhm.
Now, what often happens is a lot of the fucking loser ass landlords go into the city council meeting and go, wait, hold on. If you build this apartment building, my rent is going to go down and I want to make as much money as humanly possible. So I would actually like you not to build those apartment buildings. And they fucking swarm the city council meetings and they say, no, don't fucking build apartment buildings here. Please don't build apartment buildings here. And then the city council meeting are just filled with the entire room is just filled with fucking 80-year-old loser ass landlords who want to make as much money as possible. And they go,
You sound a little
"Fuck."
envious.
So what's
I'm not
considered?
80
Wait, Hunter. What's considered a city? Like, is Dearborn a city or is it a suburb?
I don't know. Well, I don't.
Well, okay. Can you? I mean, okay.
It's a suburb. Come on.
What's
I'm
the difference
guessing it's-
between a city and a suburb? Is a better question.
Legally, it's probably a city.
I don't even know where.
Oh my god.
The
No,
lawyer
I'm
goes
actually.
into the legal.
Like, what's the difference between a city and a suburb? Because I
Sorry,
think you're talking about like, people.
where are we going?
It's
with
not
this, right?
super clear.
Well, because
There's
he's-
going
he's-
to be a
because he's-
council-
because he's saying landlords are going in and they're saying their prices are going to go down. If landlords are owning apartments, right? Like I'm thinking of like bigger apartments than like maybe a 3-story apartment, right? I'm thinking of like
No,
when you say city,
not
I'm thinking of like a
necessarily.
downtown area. That's kind of what.
Think of literally any place in America. Think of literally any place. Okay, you've got
there
a
are
place.
metropolitan. To be clear, there are
Any
metropolitan
place?
areas.
Yellowstone
right?
National Park.
Fuck.
There are metropolitan areas, and then outside.
Houston's
of
like the one place in
geographic
America
boundary,
where
the
this is actually
metropolitan
not
area, you will
happening.
find suburbs.
So you can't choose
It's
Houston
not
either.
actually that hard to figure this out.
No, that's fine. Okay, so
There's
like
Minneapolis, I think, is doing really well. So don't think of Minneapolis. Think of any fucking. I'm gonna think of
Nashville has
well, no,
Utah,
because
Rhode Island.
because
You can't build
I'm not because the reason I'm gonna
Minneapolis is
ask
not
is
doing
because
well.
you're saying it's landlords flooding
what was
like
it then?
you're saying it's landlords flooding city
Well,
council meetings and
it sounds like he's specifically talking about apartment complexes because I mean,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me to
and
now,
so
for me to
'Cause that's
build a
upzoning.
house, I don't really have to do much of anything. I apply for a
To build
building
an apartment
permit, I tell them
complex,
how big
though.
it is.
For
Done
single
deal.
family homes,
Easy.
sure.
no to build like
if I
a
wanna build
to build an
10
apartment
family,
complex.
Yeah.
So if I have 21 acres, if I want to build houses on that 21 acres, all I do is I do have to appear before the city council, but it's not they don't approve anything. I just give them my plan and they go, okay.
And
all
you're
right.
allowed to
Largely
build them
for
up for
single
rent,
family
which is
homes.
fine.
Wait, hold on. There's an emphasis on single family homes in America. This is because fucking American dream. Everyone wants to own a single family home. Those will get passed super easily. But the problem is that doesn't really fix the supply issue. The way you fix supply issues is upzoning.
Build
by
up.
making huge
Okay.
apartment buildings. That is illegal in most cities in America.
My argument. Wait. I've had this conversation.
Communist
I had this with
blocks.
non-funding.
That's what
Tried to
you-
explain to me how this would bring the prices down. So I can agree that like maybe building a bunch of apartment complexes around a suburb would bring the prices down. But the argument to me isn't that landlords of other apartment complexes are the ones at city council meetings. There's a bunch of people who live in these suburbs that do not
me.
want apartment.
Yeah, they're
that do not want
losers.
apartment. Wait.
Yeah, I agree.
No, they're just homeowners and
Yes.
they don't
Wait,
want
hold on,
their
hold on.
neighborhood.
I
They
was
don't want their
talking about
neighborhood to
homeowners.
wait. They don't want their neighborhoods to just become like random sprawling apartment complexes because they've invested into the land, they've invested into a community.
I agree.
So it's not just landlords; it's also people who just
said
want their community to change.
Yeah,
Fine,
everybody
fine.
wants
I
more
agree.
apartments.
Homeowners.
No, you said
Homeowners.
landlord. You said landlords.
Fine. I think landlords are largely speaking the ones the ones in those city council meetings. But you are right. Homeowners. Anyone whose fucking wallet's going to get a little bit thinner.
No.
with
No.
apartment
See.
buildings.
No. Don't do that. Don't just resort it. No, don't just resort it to their pockets getting thinner. There are people
Why?
because there are people.
Hunter,
who
Ollie's
bought
actually
into
making a good point
There
here.
are people who
Yeah,
bought
that
into
there's
a-
an aesthetic-
wait,
there's an
because
aesthetic
there-
distinction
Because when
here.
I'm buying a house
Sure,
for
I agree.
Lifestyle.
$380,000, I'm
And it
buying
sucks.
part of the community. I'm buying into a community. I'm buying into an area. I want to see a progress for this area, especially if I'm paying $350,000, $250,000, $400,000 for a house. No. I don't like most people that are spending this type of money don't want random apartment buildings popping up, not because the price
I
of their
agree.
house is going to go down, because eventually it'll go up regardless.
I think largely
they don't
speaking,
want these things in their neighborhoods.
largely
It makes
speaking,
it makes the neighborhood ugly.
I understand. Largely
And crime.
speaking,
Well, I don't get the crime not so much. But like,
No,
wait,
not even
are you
a little
are you
bit
part of the
crime.
non? Are you part of? Do you know who non?
Hold on.
Non-fun
Yes,
is?
crime.
Wait, do you know who non-fun
how
is?
crime,
No
homelessness,
crime.
homelessness.
Yeah,
More-
do you-
more
do
population
you know who
density?
non-fun is? Do you know who
No
non-fun is?
crime.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so there's.
But
this-
no. Actually, I disagree with you. But whatever, we can get into that.
I have
Yeah,
stats on this
So,
one.
so like, are you part of the people who like think that that it being affordable is more important to the people than the community or like because
Yes.
like we can
I
just
think
demolish
this is
all
really
the homes. We can
interesting.
just demolish all the homes and make a bunch of apartment complexes, but most people don't want to. do
Da,
that.
comrade.
Hunter, I
We
have
put
a-
all the housing in
hold
one
on, hold on. Can I
place.
say this?
Yes, yeah, right, Lackoid, yeah.
Wait,
Hold
Da,
on. Let me say
comrade.
something
I
real
wanna
quick.
engage
Let me
with
say
Hunter
something
on
real
something.
quick.
because
It's
this is
Slavo
super
communism,
interesting to me.
baby.
Can I say something real quick?
Ah, Slava Ruski.
I want to say something real quick. Just real quick. I think specifically when we're talking about the aesthetics of a neighborhood, like we don't want apartment buildings to go up, but people are coming in anyway. That's largely going to displace a lot of residents that currently live there, and homelessness spikes around the when capacity when supply doesn't get increased. And I think specifically when we're talking about crime and we're talking about aesthetics, I think homelessness being allowed to sprawl into our streets is something that should be avoided at all costs. And I think that building apartments has shown to decrease homelessness.
So this is an interesting.
It does
pricing people.
overall.
Hold on, just give me a second here, Hunter. This is really interesting to me because you want more evil robber barons, not less.
I want more evil robber barons.
apartment
Who do
owners
you think
are
build the
not going
apartment
to
complexes, Hunter?
be. Yeah, they're not going to be doing cheap rent.
Yeah,
Like,
Hunter.
Yeah, like.
Wait,
Yeah,
I'm not even. I'm not even
I'm
fucking
literally
following
right
a
now,
little
like
bit.
one of the things,
Apartment
one of
owners
my
are the
projects on my
slummiest
plate
of
right
lords.
now is
Multifamily housing is run by landlords, isn't it?
Oh,
Is
of
what he's saying.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
course
you're
I do.
asking for more landlords to come into my
Of course I
suburb.
do.
Well,
Of course I
okay.
am.
Well, hold on,
These
hold on, hold on.
slumlords.
One of my
Blood-sucking
projects
landlords.
right now is
Of course I am.
build
What a
to rent.
dumb.
We're building houses not to sell them,
I know
but
to rent. Build to rent
them.
is good.
Build to rent, and it's
You'll own nothing and you'll love it.
You guys are
right.
so
You
fucking
own
stupid.
nothing.
Let's move everything to the subscription model.
Here's my issue. Here's my issue. Renting. Americans are way too fucking obsessed with buying your fucking home. When you are a student or when you're someone who
I'm glad to know Hunter's on my side as an evil robber baron.
I'm not morally against landlords in any way. Even if I was, I couldn't legislate you out anyway. Because morally speaking,
To win. It's a win
I don't know
for
if he
the
was
evil
fighting
Robert.
you.
It's a win
I don't know if
for
he
the
was
evil
fighting you.
Robert.
First.
So this is the issue.
Okay, so I
Hunter,
wanna-
is
I wanna
liberals
try to-
never
I've never found
throw-
landlords
liberals
the
throw
issue.
slumlords because you guys
I
think the
want
rents
to-
go down when we have more slumlords in the world. That's the issue.
Well, I won't be a
Okay.
slumlord,
Slumlords
but
can
I will
only
be a
exist.
robber baron.
I wanna
slumlords
try
can
to
only
move the
exist because they're
conversation.
taking advantage of a situation that is largely.
I want to try to. Okay, guys, I want to try to shift the conversation. We're gonna start a fight. Okay, all right.
The fight starts now.
Oh,
Let's
now
fight.
we're
We
gonna
hadn't
fight?
already started.
I want to start a new fight. Excuse me. So
Hey,
private.
by the way, so Prime, just give me 1 second. Before I forget about it, Lactoid, the typical contractor percentage of homeowner costs home building costs is about 40%. So where I would build a house for, say, I don't know, 150, 200 grand, you would spend 350 to 400 grand doing the same thing. Because you would pay the contractor 40%, and I don't do that. I'm my own contractor.
Hold on. You just said that you would have to pay the contractors to come build the house, though, right? You don't personally go out there and build the house.
Contractor. I deal with subcontractors, and I pay them as little as fucking possible.
Okay, so let me understand this correctly then.
Mm-hmm.
Are you telling me that because, and maybe this is like this, I believe much more. You're saying that like as your position, because you're a large contractor, because you can offer a lot of jobs, you have more negotiating power to reduce the price the subcontractors have to charge, as opposed to me, little old Lactoid, where if I try to go to these subcontractors, they're going to charge me more because I'm just one
pay
guy.
a contractor's fee. He doesn't because he's a contractor.
So you can't act as your own contractor because you don't know even how to talk to these people. So you engage in what's called a general contractor, and he marks everything up by about 40%.
Well, now he knows that.
Sorry,
but I feel like maybe I hope I'm not being dumb. I'm pretty sure okay, if I did, I guess, a little bit of homework and I got to the point where I'm like, I figured out how to work with these subcontractors, I still think it's going to cost me like $300,000 to $400,000,
maybe 20 or 30%
down the boonies.
You could save yourself a good bit, but you got to know which crew. You got to know, man. I'm telling you, there's a bunch of shysters in contracting, bro.
Yeah, Yelp.
Yo, you don't use Yelp. Don't use Yelp.
Okay, Google.
You
reviews,
this
I don't know.
hypothetical world that Lactoid paints.
This is come on. It sounds a little bit to me like you're a middleman. Like you're just kind of this.
Middleman.
No, he's the contractor. The contractor is the middleman. He is a contractor. He finds people.
Yeah, but you're acting as a contractor, right? Because you build the thing and then sell it.
But he doesn't have to pay himself 40%.
I build it, then I own it. But yeah,
right. You build it, and then you own it, but you rent it, right?
I rent it out to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So like when I built my sunroom, I got 3 quotes on it. The first quote was $160,000. The second quote was like 180 or something. And then I got one cheap ass quote for like 100. Quote for 100. I built it for like 65,000.
Yeah. Well, here's what I suspect. Okay. Could be wrong. Talking a little bit out of my ass here, but I do strongly suspect this. That the reason why you're getting good deals is because you work with these people a lot. You are somebody they want to stay on the good side of, and you are somebody that they are going to do a lot of jobs for. And so you are able to negotiate lower prices in ways that everybody here on this panel simply can't.
We could have a whole
That's my guess.
conversation about how to deal with contractors. Can't drive
If I
too
ever
nice.
build a house,
Can't drive
Next
too-
Monday
too
on
judgy.
if I ever build a
Prime.
house, I'm gonna hit you up, and I'm definitely gonna ask for some advice. Yeah.
So, okay, I wanted to shift the conversation a bit. Private equity, bad. That's
Yeah,
my argument
obviously.
there. Bad. Well, hold on, not
Obviously.
our friends Lactoid and our friend Hunter
Yeah.
seem to think otherwise.
We're the
and
hand
so-
washers of fascism.
Yeah,
Of
they
course
don't think it's bad enough. They don't think
Lacto
it's
gets
bad
left,
enough.
Hunter gets the right hand.
I think
Wait, Hunter. Let me present my argument first, and that's going to be part of Grid's argument, which was that most of these large corporations are going to do exactly what Grid did. They're going to set up small LLCs that are going to buy up as many as they can, right, and hold them off. So like there was a
whoa. Don't just move past that grid. Is that what you're saying? You buy
not that he does that. He
It
said
sounds
that you
illegal.
could do that.
Just so you
Wait,
know,
no.
this sounds very illegal.
Doesn't sound
Yeah.
illegal. Sounds like
It sound-
fucking not a way to make money. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Wait.
rent it.
Not all of these
that could make
private
money.
equity firms. Not all these private equity firms are trying to make money, right? So there was when I was in college and I was in Ypsilanti, Michigan, down the street from Ann Arbor. There was a huge thing, a huge talk in the city about remember like 10 years ago when like Chinese
Hey, everyone
corporations were
quiet down.
buying up.
Money just came in.
my bad.
$50 from Doobie. Thank you, Doobie.
Shout out, dude.
It said, totally agree that general contractors are the devil. That's why you pay broke family
My man,
members to do
Doobie.
most of the donkey work. Also, ignore Hunter, please. Americans should be obsessed with purchasing and holding a profitable property, right? Well, okay.
We're fighting
Doobie
the
has it
I have a
actual
little
rich
disagreement.
person.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that.
Doobie, as an actual rich person, I think would know. And Hunter,
Wait,
as
hold
an
on.
actual
Obviously,
poor
it's gonna
person,
make
would
money.
know.
I'm bad. I'm against that.
So wait,
I don't think my position is exactly fleshed out here. Just to be super clear, obviously, if you wait, what does it mean? Purchase and holding profitable property, like holding as in not renting that out. How could
Yeah,
that
living
be
in it.
obsessed with buying
I mean,
a home
okay.
and owning.
Oh,
it.
oh,
No,
living
or
in
holding it on your
Gotcha.
balance sheet.
Yeah, Hunter, imagine, leave it to Beaver, okay? You have a wife, you have a husband, and you have 3 beautiful children, a white picket fence, and
I
a
like
beagle,
renting.
and
And
you
no black
live in the
picket.
house, and you own it. We can talk about that, Prime. But you own it. You own the house. This is good. It is good to have this level of stability. It's good to not have a deal with. I hate dealing with landlords. I hate the idea that somebody can walk into my house at any with just hey, I'm gonna check on you. I'm gonna check on my shit. No, you don't get to come into my house unless you have a badge and a gun and I have to.
Lactoid likes the idea of shooting people.
So I'm gonna say
this.
this. I love that when my toilet breaks, I just call someone up and just go, "You deal with it." And
I replaced my toilet.
Yeah,
You
dude,
learn
just
to
fix
be
your
a man
toilet.
by owning something, right? Because then you got to fix it.
Fix your toilet. But
Yeah,
but
I hear you. I don't want to do that. I don't want.
I carried the whole thing in. It was heavy as shit, and I
don't
fucking
wanna
made
do
it work.
I make someone else do it.
Thank
I
you.
say,
grew a
"You
beard
fucking."
like a real man.
Thank you, Doobie, for the kind $50 super chat. You can also super chat anyone else out there. If
Do
you
it.
want us to discuss your
And you could super chat
your
higher
comment.
amounts too, just FYI.
Wow.
You can do
more.
that. That is also an option.
We should
right?
test the limit of how much you can super chat. Actually,
I think that's a perfect experiment. I've never seen the end of that rainbow. Let's see if it exists. There's certainly a pot of gold.
How many
imagine.
zeros can fit on that
for
space
sure.
there and on the super chat?
Exactly. What happens, right? Does it like roll over or anything? I don't know. Hold on, we got another one.
Ooh,
Another
there we go.
DB. Thank you, DB. It says, purchase it, live in it, prepare it, and then rent it out. Selling it is haram.
Right,
Thank
true.
you.
Making
right.
interest. Interest is haram.
Oh, we
Can't
included
do it.
renting. Okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So do you agree?
Yeah, every American should have 2 rental
Should be
properties. I
obsessed
agree.
with it.
Yeah, you should be obsessed with it. Yeah. What
I think
do you
the
agree,
only way-
Hunter?
I think if everyone had 2 rental properties, largely speaking,
They would be
No.
empty. Yeah.
That's funny. Who would you rent to?
Every man, woman, child, 2 rental properties. And fail.
No, I have a huge issue with this. Largely speaking, we have to be okay with our assets depreciating in value. Otherwise, like I'm not against people owning homes. I am against people owning homes and doing everything in their means to appreciate that asset, including restricting supply at their local city council meeting. That is what I am against. And I think that incentivizes that behavior. And if that incentivizes your behavior, you shouldn't be doing it.
Spoken
That's
like
not
a
why
true
people are
communist.
doing it, but it is a wait, listen.
How is that coming?
People don't want to
he's asking
buy
for more competition, literally.
but
Like,
That's exactly correct.
Yeah, I know, but
That is-
but like there's a difference between buying a car, right? Buying a car and buying a house, right? No one's buying into a $300,000 property in like being okay that it's depreciating in value. Like, why would anyone buy a property if like it was going to just go down in value? A car is a necessity. You have to have a car. You can
A
rent
house
if
is
you
not
have-
a necessity. I'm not even following.
Wait, no. Owning a house for a lot of people feels like a necessity. Right? Unless you want to
Okay.
resort everyone to rent, that's fine. But no one is going to buy a house and have it like like you'll have no one buying houses at that point.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think
That
would
no
be
one buys
better.
houses.
Wait, hold on. Houses need to start depreciating in value. It's fucking crazy that the house market just keeps upticking, and this is largely because no one is building houses. If we start building houses, then housing values are going to start decreasing.
How many people?
And guess
do you
what's
know
going to go
that's
up?
paid
Hold
off their
on,
houses?
hold on. Guess what? That's going to happen. Rent is going to be cheaper.
Yeah. So how many people do you
All
know
of
have
those-
paid for their houses?
When is it going to be cheaper? Is actually
I've paid
the
in full
question.
for my house, full for their houses, or mortgage their houses.
Yeah. How many people have paid their house off?
That I know.
Yeah.
On this panel or in life?
Just in real life. How many people? do
I
you know?
genuinely don't think I know anyone.
Okay.
My parents paid off their house.
My parents didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know tons of people who own their houses, but no, paid it off in full. No, very few.
You only kind of own it. You and the bank own it, and the bank has a larger share.
Right?
So you're technically renting. You just get to rent at a lower rate.
Sure.
You're building equity,
No,
which is different.
Your house is collateral. I don't know if that's the same
So
thing
Hunter,
as-
houses shouldn't build equity.
No. That's what happens in when we have built enough houses. No,
There will never be enough houses.
it will.
Well, hold on.
What
It
does
should
that
keep
even
up.
fucking mean? We can
Wait,
always
wait,
try to
it
get-
should-
housing. Yes.
Wait, hold on. It should, at the very least, in an ideal market with pure equilibrium, which I agree is never going to be hit, but assuming a perfect equilibrium, it should at least keep up with inflation.
Wait,
What,
Lacta, are you
housing
okay with
values?
that?
No, they
wait,
should
wait,
be
Lacta, are you
decreasing.
okay with the
If
housing
if
market
you're
becoming
fucking-
something that
if it's
just
a
stays
50
stagnant?
If it's a 50, hold on. If it's like a 50-year property, I lived in this place when I was just a student. It was like $250 to live there. It was crazy cheap. I probably picked up asbestos living there. It was crazy, and like it was falling apart. It was shit. That house is worth more than when it was built. That is a travesty. That doesn't make any
Hold
sense.
on, but that's
No, I no. Wait. Listen to what I said. Right.
You
Listen
said
to what I
it should
said.
keep
though.
up with inflation.
It's the
Yeah, with
location
general
that's
inflation.
No, that
expensive.
should
It's
probably
the-
be worth less than when it was built.
But it's probably the
Why
land
would
that
it
it's
be worth
on, right? It's the location that it's at. It was why it's
Hold on,
more
it
expensive.
depends.
Just because the
It
building
depends.
is
Are they
run down
making
doesn't
more
mean anything.
land?
It depends. Hold on. I agree
No,
with
but
you.
you wait.
if-
Hold
if-
on. Hold on. Up. You can
Hunter.
build up.
If you kept it up, if you maintain
go
the
up.
property, if you maintain the property, I think that at the very least, then it like holding around inflation makes sense.
Sure.
I agree. If you let it
consistently-
become dilapidated, then sure. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Cool. That's all I'm saying.
It
Wait,
drops.
but
And by the way,
even
it
if
does
it's
kind of drop in
dilapidated,
value.
It
the
could, but largely
surrounding
not.
neighborhood, if the
In some
surrounding
areas, it
neighborhood-
doesn't because it's crazy right now. But
even
Yeah.
if it's dilapidated,
what I'm
right?
saying is the issue.
Your guys' argument is Hunter. Your
Mhm.
argument is that building new housing and blah 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 should drive the price down, right? But like my argument is that like let's just say you have a dilapidated house on a block, right?
Uh-huh.
The entire block got renovated, but now I have the shittiest house on the block now.
Mhm.
Someone still wants to live on that block. They want to buy that land. They want to buy the property because the property's on this land on this nice block. That's why my property went up in value. Not be that's just it.
You're looking at it that
The demand is there. The demand of someone wanting to buy my property for X amount because it's in this nice neighborhood with all this new build is why it's expensive.
The real issue that I have here with how you're viewing this is you're seeing price as necessarily tied to whether or not the places on your block have been renovated. And I'm saying the places on your block can do absolutely fucking nothing, and they would still appreciate in value.
It depending on if the neighborhood. Wait, no. If
Yes.
you live in a bad neighborhood where nothing in that neighborhood is getting fixed, your prices aren't going up. If
Yes,
you live
they
in a
will.
bad neighborhood, where
Largely
Making more
speaking.
land.
Yes.
yes, but if you live in a shit neighborhood and then things start getting better around your neighborhood, the prices of your things, even if
Okay.
you don't fix them,
All
will go up.
else
That's
equal, the
literally
price
what it
of your house will increase.
Hey,
All else
Hunter,
equal.
Hunter, so let me ask you something.
is. So then, like, I don't see what your argument against that is.
Build more housing.
I don't understand.
Like, I
Hunter's-
really want to hit that 20 times.
I really
Fucking
don't
build more
understand
housing.
where you're
You
going
build
with
more
this.
housing and my house becomes more expensive because my area becomes more desirable.
No,
It's-
it doesn't. It
yes,
doesn't.
it does.
Because you're
Thank you,
increasing
Davey,
the
for the
amount of supply.
$50. Yeah.
It really is
Yeah.
that easy.
It really is.
So Hunter, let me ask you something. So why do you think it's wrong for a piece of property that was worth, say, a piece of land that I could have bought 5 years ago for $500 an acre is now currently today worth $10,000 an acre?
Yeah, I think that's
Bare dirt.
probably indicative of an issue.
Why? What issue do you have with that? Why
It's
should it
indicative of an
not be
issue.
worth $10,000 an acre?
Wait, sorry. I think that you're taking a stand. It's indicative of an issue. I don't find it an issue in of itself.
What issue is it indicative of?
Wait. The land itself?
Dirt, bare dirt, was $500 an acre in 2020. It is currently today, 6 years later, worth $10,000 an acre. Bottom.
I don't know if I have an issue with that.
You don't have an issue with that. So if a
No,
house
bare
that's
dirt?
built on a
Hold
piece
on.
of dirt goes up in value, it's because that piece of dirt has value intrinsically in and of itself.
Let me think about that. That is
Because I don't care what the house is that's on it. The house can be a falling down piece of shit, but the
Land is what you're
dirt,
buying.
that
The
piece
location.
of dirt is worth money.
The location is what
The
you're
fact
buying.
that it
not the-
has
not
a
the
house
building.
on it now that can be renovated or torn down and rebuilt has value. You simply don't understand value, and therefore you just say, "Well, I
Airspace.
don't want it. I don't like it."
Even the air, like the
Wait,
airspace,
wait,
like
wait.
it's the
Hunter
location
doesn't
you're
understand
buying.
much, really. Honestly, I think
Nice,
he's proven
Brian.
that.
Well, he understands hand
hold
washing.
on.
very well.
You're
Yes, he does.
It's a
saying
great hand washer.
you're saying that the land in America increased from $400 to $1,000. Laxwood, did you hear this?
Yeah, I've been listening.
Hold on.
Wait, I'm just going to clarify something. I might be, because I don't actually know the answer, but like, do people truly own land in the United States?
Yes.
In some places, and in some places, they're about to be able to really own it because they're getting rid of property taxes.
Well, no. I think. Do you mean? Do you
goddamn
mean
right.
that? So hold on. I just because we talked about this lactoid, right? Like how under circumstances like the land under your feet, like after a certain distance, like it's not actually yours, and then like
They have mineral
government
rights
can
and
do
water
Mineral
rights
rights.
and all that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can do things like they run pipes underneath your land, and technically you can't like fuck those pipes and all that stuff. Is that what you're talking about, Corey?
That's what I'm getting at. Yes, as in like,
Okay.
but like, there's like it is actually like yours, and like you can do whatever you want
Well, I mean,
with
kind
it.
of
Not in the true blue American
Is it
dream
is it
fashion,
ownership
no.
in the same way as like a car?
Well, it kind of
No.
depends on how the contract's written, isn't it? Because if you have mineral rights, gas rights, all that sort of thing, then yeah. But if you don't, and they find natural gas there, and they want to tunnel in from the lot next door,
I mean, ultimately,
Well, then,
I
so
think
then you would agree that you're renting the land.
What?
Kind of, yes. If you're paying property tax, it feels like you're renting the land because if you don't pay the property tax, the government can come and take your land away. Yada yada yada.
I mean,
Yeah.
in theory, they could through eminent domain take your property anyway, but they have to reimburse
Yeah.
you for it. And
So at least
sometimes
somebody has to
it's not a
pay you.
bad idea to have eminent domain come in. To be honest.
$50. Thank you, DB, for the kindness. He says you can go online right now
That's
and buy
true.
large parcels of desert for like $30K, then just sit on it forever.
Well,
I guess-
yeah,
I suppose you could.
my friend's grandpa bought land up north Michigan, like back in like the 50s, 60s for like I think $5,000 for like 100 acres or some shit. And today it's worth like it's pretty fucking pricey. It's around like $1 million because there was like oil reserves that they found on it that they own the rights to, and so on and so forth.
If
Like,
you get lucky, yes, you can buy like quote unquote worthless land.
well, no,
and at
you
some
don't,
point,
you don't have to even get lucky. It's like right now, if you're looking,
You're going to pay taxes on that land.
Wait, yeah. If you look in up north Michigan, right? Like the taxes are going to be super low because they're not really like doing shit for the roads or so on and so forth. You can buy land in areas.
In some places, if it's unimproved, you don't pay property taxes on.
Yeah. So like, but like you can buy land in areas
this.
like there, like Hunter, to your point, there are cities that are kind of going up. There are people who are buying parcels of land and building apartments and building homes and so on. So the property value, like you can buy a piece of land right now for like 10 grand and wait 5 years. The surrounding areas are building. It's going to be worth a lot more money.
Yeah. Hold on. You're saying there's land that's like in a place that's on the up and up, right?
Yeah.
I'm what dubious talking about. But he says desert, right? I mean, it could actually be like sandy, right? But it could also just be a worthless plot of land, right? For otherwise worthless, and like
worthless now.
One that no one could like reasonably speculate would go up in value, right? But like there's like a lottery system here. One of those pieces of plots of land is going to go up in value for some reason, right? Some reason that might not be foreseeable, right? Like for instance, the AI boom.
People want to own.
There's a lot of plots of land.
Yeah, people want to own land.
Well,
you're right. It's like lottery.
Actually,
but
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a reason why you got to be careful playing the lottery, because there's you're missing out on the benefit of investing that money in other things that are going to make you money, as opposed to potentially, in this case, losing money. You're paying taxes on that. In most cases that I know of, maybe there's some jurisdictions
I don't think
that don't charge
taxes on desert land in Arizona unless you build something on it.
Well,
I don't know. That could be true in Arizona. I'm not sure. Here's the other thing.
You know what you're forgetting?
Adverse possession.
That's
another important thing to keep in mind.
Well, what was the average possession? What is that? Can you tell us?
So one of the classic cases they have us read in. One of the classic cases they have us read in law school. I forget the name of it, but there's companies that do this. There are companies that will buy large tracts of land, and they're holding companies where they'll sit on the land, hope it goes up, hope that somebody needs it, or maybe they have some reason to believe that someone's going to need it, and then they sell it at a profit. That's the idea. And so one of these companies was bought up a shit ton of Alaskan land for dirt cheap, right? And there was these hippies that showed up one day, and they wandered on over this property, and they just set up shop because, I mean, who's going to stop them, right? These people owned the land on paper, but nobody was coming around and shooing them off or whatever. So they had a little shed, a little tie-dye. Yeah. This was before meth. This was back when weed and coke. This was before meth. Maybe some Quaaludes. Okay.
Yeah.
And in America, if you sit on land for long enough, it becomes yours.
Yep. Squatters
legally.
Rights.
So if you I forget
again.
what it is. It's state by state. I know that in California, I think California is one of the shortest time periods. I'm pretty sure it's 3 years.
In Michigan, it's by encroachment. You have to literally encroach on you have to territorially take someone's land and kind of claim it, and then it becomes.
This is how it works. Yeah, this is how it works in every state. You have to go onto the land, set up shop, and basically act like it's your land.
And you have to.
And if you do this, improvements go towards the argument that you've adversely possessed the land. And so in this case, the hippies, they got the property, and they got to keep the property for the little commune, and the holding company they're just shit out of luck. They lost their investment, they lost the land, over. Yeah. And so if you loan large pieces of undeveloped property, I would visit that place every once in a while.
Yeah.
Keep in mind the kind of years you're looking at. Make sure you're surveying it properly. Make sure other farmers, because this is the big thing that happens most of the time, is farmers. So they'll start plowing or seeding a little bit more into your land over time. That's usually how it happens. So you got to be careful.
Interesting.
So as far as undeveloped tracts of land and buying it and that sort of thing. If you've driven down 40 through Arizona and New Mexico, you'll look on either side, and you'll see these big things that are spinning around. They're called windmills. They generate electricity and whatnot. And did
you think we not know what windmills were?
Well, some people, look, I can't make any assumptions here. And what they do, what these companies did is they went around to all these people that own this land that has literally nothing on it but fucking cactus. And they paid them a lot of money to go in and build these and put these windmills in, and they pay them every year to have those windmills on that property, and it's worthless, literally worthless desert land. And yet those people are getting a paycheck every month for land that they probably paid for 100 years ago or whatever.
Yeah. Let's go to our friend Gibbs.
Yeah, y'all keep saying that we can't make land, and that's not technically true. I've been thinking about this. We that's true. We also have people use old oil rigs, they convert into other stuff, and I'm just gonna bring up that liberal hot word that everybody likes to use, climate change. Even that desert land, that might soon be beachfront property if you sit around long enough. And then you can just be rich and have the only, your forefathers invested in this land. So, I don't know if I really am buying that we can't make more lands. In fact, we've cleaned out swamps. Houston is basically on top of a swamp. New Orleans is basically land reclaimed.
We could also take Cuba.
They've even extended New Orleans, if I recall.
Or we can build up.
They took built the little dikes, and then they built
costs a lot of money to build up.
Because of regulations.
Climate change wouldn't make more land, right?
We've already done that. We've already made more
property
the land will
cost
change,
so much
right? Like the desert becomes beachfront property.
But I get what he was saying, but I'm saying it's also it doesn't make
that land would be useful.
I want to bring it back. I want to bring it back to the private equity.
Let me do that.
Well,
me and Hunter were in the middle of the conversation about it.
Created lots of
no. I want to jump in. Sorry, I don't want you guys to do it. I want to do it.
It's your panel.
Thank you.
You don't want me to jump in?
I appreciate you.
Listen, I'm just a guest on your panel. You're supposed to be the moderator. We're supposed to be goofing it up, but okay, I got you. Whatever you want, Prime. Whatever you want.
Go ahead, Prime. You have my permission. Go ahead.
You're supposed to be the moderator, but in reality.
Okay, all right. So I want to engage with our friends. I want to engage specifically with Lactoid and Hunter, but other people can jump in as well, especially if we have disagreements. So yeah, private equity equal bad, right? Now, that's the short end. That's what goes on the signs, right? Like the protest signs. But private equity is just like an investment model, right? That's what it is. And gathering private money and then focusing it on a problem, whatever it may be. Which is, I think, in itself fine. But how private equity tends to behave in certain markets, certain industries, that's where we have an issue. So specifically, we're talking about housing here, right? And private equity in housing has pretty much been shown to be parasitic. They are a detriment to the housing market, and I wanted to make a distinction here, right? Because our friend Hunter at the very start of this, he said, "Why wouldn't you want corporations within housing? They're going to solve the housing problem." That's a weird statement just off the bat, but still, I understand what he's trying to say, and that legislation is pushing out entrance to the market to maybe could increase supply or something like that. But specifically, when we're talking about private equity, what they're talking about is not pushing corporations out. Corporations are in the housing market one way or the other. They're in there, but they're talking about this investment strategy and the negative externalities that it brings to this industry, and that's why private equity should be pushed out. I disagree with Lactoid, Corey, and Hunter were talking about before. Oh, private equity isn't a big deal. Actually, it is a big deal in terms of certain parts of the housing market. Yes, actually. And it's weird that you guys are saying otherwise. So I'm going to stop there. I have lots to say on this. Right.
Okay.
But I want to give you guys a chance to have a back and forth with me.
Well, you didn't really stipulate the negative externalities or counter our argument that they make up less than one. Wait, hold on. Two things.
Sure.
First off, I'd love to hear more about those negative externalities.
Sure.
Second, I'd love for you to counter our argument, which is that they make up less than 1% of the housing market.
I won't counter that at all. Okay. Actually.
So tell us why they matter nonetheless.
Okay. I will tell you exactly why, Hunter.
Can I just clarify something just quick? Are you saying that it's private equity that has that is the disproportionate effect on the housing market, or you're just saying that it has an effect? Because I don't dispute that it has an effect. I'm just saying it's It's not a
Just to be
significant
clear,
difference.
I'm talking about institutional investors, not private equity.
Well, I'm talking about private equity because I don't know why. Don't let's not expand this conversation.
No. But that's who make up.
We were talking about private equity.
No, that's who make up 1%, less than 1%, and that's who's
Yes.
banned from the Road to Housing Act.
Exactly. So that's the thing we're talking about right now.
Right, not private equity.
Hold on. Sorry, Hunter, what are you doing here? Private equity was one mentioned in the legislation, correct?
Well, institutional investors is who we're talking about.
Correct.
Which is the same, I think, in this case. So I don't know what the.
If what you're referring to is the exact same, because I think institutional
BlackRock
investors is a larger group there. But whatever, it's fine. Okay. If you're saying the same thing, then I'm not going to fight.
Sure.
Yeah, we're both referring to BlackRock and BlackRock-esque entities, right? That's kind of what we're talking about.
Okay. Oh yeah. If you're talking to me, then yes. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay. All right. All right. So all right. There's no confusion then. So yes, indeed, it does make up about 1% of the housing market. But right, that's the national housing market. Obviously, housing isn't a national asset; it's a regional asset. Right, like the housing market changes from place to place. Right, we have different prices. And different conditions in terms of how many people are around, like in terms of demand and supply, and the laws, regulations governing it. That's where it matters, right? And then from there, not just like the concentrations of private equity in these different cities, right? Because like the distribution is uneven here. Not just that, but it's also what part of the housing market we're talking about. So in terms of single family homes, they're not nearly as big of an issue, but in terms of single family, like bought single family homes, but single family rented homes, they're a bigger issue. And then for apartment buildings, the multifamily renters, apartment buildings, that's what's
the issue with them owning the single family rental homes? What's the issue?
Excuse me.
Do they deliver an inferior product?
So it depends. They could. I'm gonna focus on is the apartment buildings. I know less about the single family home rental. I think a lot of the things I say are going to carry over there, but I don't want to die on that hill. So I'm going to focus on the apartment buildings. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like on those apartment buildings, right? Their ownership. Those are what we've seen is a clear pattern of the quality of the living there becomes less, right? The amenities become less. The prices go up, and can
you give me an example of that?
Overall, I will. I absolutely.
Do you have a link or something I could look at?
I will provide you with one. One second. Let me finish my point. But I will provide you with something. So not only do prices go up, quality goes down. There may not necessarily be a slumlord necessarily, but they are trying to extract value very quickly. We can get back to what that means later on. So there's that, and also one last thing, it takes away choices. So when you have these large institutional investors, we can use that term, operating within these like discrete housing markets, because there's a bunch of housing markets, not just the one, not just the national, but in these local housing markets, at some point for renters, when they're moving about, they lose access to real competition. Though sometimes, and we definitely know they do this, they come up with a bunch of different names, right? They'll call themselves, they have a bunch of different LLCs under one investor, and you think you have some choice there, but it's an illusion. And then, of course, that also goes into like setting prices, because they're not going to compete against each other, right? They get to raise prices in a way across the board. And the bigger they are within the market, the more ability they have.
McKinley and Ypsilanti is a good example of this.
Which one? I'm sorry.
McKinley in Ypsilanti, Michigan. They own like most of the apartment complexes in Ypsilanti. Go ahead, Prem.
No problem. I'm going to provide you. No worries, friend. I'm going to provide you with a link, and I'm going to refer to this article a bunch, so it's worth taking a look at. I'm going to put it in our group chat.
I guess my experience with dealing with private equity and investor type deals. Well, first of all, so when I first moved back to Tennessee, and we were in a unique situation. We didn't really know where we were going to buy a house, and we still own a house in California and another one in Colorado and some other stuff, but that's irrelevant. And so we actually rented from American Homes for Rent or Progress. No, it's Progress Rental, and their one of their big investors is, I think, Vanguard or BlackRock. I think it's BlackRock, and but BlackRock doesn't actually have any control over what Progress does. They just give them a bunch of money and expect to see a return out of it, right? Progress does all of their, that they just do what they do, and same thing with American Home for Rent and Liberty and all of these other companies that, in fact, I think pretty much the entire neighborhood that I lived in ended up being owned by either Liberty or Progress, right? And so literally, like, every time a house would sell, it was Progress or Liberty that bought it, and they turned it into a rental. Now, they did a great job during my, when I lived in that house. If the AC went out, it was a single phone call. They had somebody there within an hour. They had somebody on call all the time. They had a maintenance guy. When we moved in, the house it didn't look brand new. It's an older house, but it was clean and the paint was good and everything. Carpet was new. So I don't have the experience with these, with what you're talking about. Now, maybe it's because I'm dealing with homes and not apartment complexes.
It's the locations that you're dealing with too, right?
Sure. I'm sure, but I mean, I think nationwide that standard's pretty well kept because, you're right. People want to maximize profits. And the truth is that no matter how desperate people are, they will look for the best deal they can get. And if what you are offering is a pile of shit, they're not going to want it. They're going to go somewhere else, right?
If they can go somewhere else.
Or they're just going to take it because they have to.
Yeah, if they can go somewhere
Weren't you
else,
just saying that you could move out of the country if you wanted to?
I could.
Yeah, you'd have to plan for it. You and Lactoid keep holding this against me as if I'm saying you could just pick up tomorrow and go.
So I want to. So before we get distracted, all right, I'll let you go, Gibbs. But I do want to jump because I don't want to get distracted here. Go ahead, Gibbs. Gibbs, you're muted, friend. If you want to say.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Pron. I'll go after you if you don't mind, because I want to move the topic a little bit to something else, part of the prompt.
But I mean,
okay, understood. So
I guess my perspective on this is different because I'm not as familiar with the apartment complex side, and I don't deal with apartment complexes. I think that there are a lot of trouble in there. It's where you lose money. Although we may actually be we may be investing in one shortly. So I don't know. Maybe I'll listen to what you guys are saying here. But.
And we still love your perspective. So to our friends, Hunter and Lactoid. I don't know, other white guy, whatever. But went to Lactoid. Sorry.
We're called the base department.
It seemed like. So I want to understand your position here, right? So I don't mischaracterize you, because maybe we're not as far apart as maybe I think, right? So I want to make sure I understand. Do you all think that private equity, right, or institutional investors, we can use whatever term you like, being able to buy up these large amounts of rental units within a housing market, right, a hot housing market, do you think that is a neutral thing? Do you think that is a beneficial thing? Do you think it's a negative thing? We start there and work our way down.
So I glanced through your article.
It's a very long article. Long article.
I skimmed it. It seems like I don't want to misquote it, so I'm going to give a little summary. It seems like what they're saying is some private equity firm bought up this apartment building and didn't upkeep it at all, and it just went to shit. Is that a fair summary? That was what I looked at, but I took two seconds.
Yeah. So they focus on one in particular to tell the story, but to be clear, it's a larger story than that. But you're correct. They focus on a company called Greystar that bought a specific apartment building, and they told the story through that lens. But go ahead,
I think that the only reason that they were unable to really that they were able to do something like that is because they're taking advantage of a situation, which is dwindling supply in America. I think that if you have a proficient or a sufficient amount of housing, which by the way, we're 3 million short, we're 3 million units short in America, that you wouldn't be able to do this. If you don't upkeep the place, the office would move, and they would move to a cheaper location nearby that was able to take care of their needs. But because they don't have enough options available to them, that the people are able to take advantage of them. So I'm against the private equity firms taking advantage of these people, but I also think that the reason why this is occurring is because they have the ability to.
Oh, wait. What if it's not necessary? What if it's not necessarily taking it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So before then, sorry guys, I just want to focus on a few things. I want to get and I sorry, you have your hand up, Gibbs? Is that
Yeah. I just whatever y'all. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so Lactoid, I want your opinion on that question I asked.
Yeah, I got no problem with private equity. I read through the article.
There's no way you read that fucking article.
There is when it goes into history. There's a middle section where it goes into the history of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae.
Mm-hmm.
I did skim that part, but I read the first part. There's like a first chunk that it's Hunter summarized it pretty accurately, which it's mostly just like an anecdotal. This one came in and made shit suck. And talks about how like they pursue higher profit margins for their investors, and then there's the last part that kind of goes back to that, and then there's the middle part that explains the history of Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. The article definitely.
Oh my God! Who is clicking? Please, someone is doing a lot of clicking. Please, someone's the mouse clicking or something. Okay.
There's a couple stats.
It's probably Gibbs.
Possibly.
I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here. I'm just.
Yeah, we can hear you about to take a hit.
Yeah, you can hear that. You can hear that, but
yeah, we can hear that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. There's a couple stats in here, but I mean the article is clearly. I mean there clearly is like a slant. So like for example, I'm going to read this part of the article. Quote, another advantage for Wall Street-backed landlords is their ability to wield influence in state and local politics, she said, shaping decisions that make a big impact on renters. 2018, for example, Blackstone, different than BlackRock, spent more than $6.2 million fighting a ballot initiative that would have allowed rent control in California cities. First of all, good. The fact that rent control is even being listed by this article as any kind of good thing, I think, is indicative of something.
True.
But two, nothing in here really like makes me concerned that once again this is
you haven't read the whole thing, to be very clear. But go ahead, that's fine. It's fine, but you just haven't read the whole thing.
I have read a disproportionate amount of this for the amount of time. For the amount of time that I've had it, I have read more than enough to have an opinion. I've read probably 95% more than Americans have read this and come to an opinion. I even found this is a paragraph like 3/4 down the page, Prime.
Yeah, you skimmed through it, and then you found the one.
I skimmed through the part they were talking about the history of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I don't need to know about that. I need to know what their point is when it comes to is it a good thing when private equity firms they come in and
yes,
when the private equity firms come in. So far, what this article has demonstrated is that they are very effective at destroying incredibly terrible policy. So that's good. Great day. Fucking awesome. Way to go, Blackstone. But then the other thing here is, I'm not seeing, whether it be through this or whether it be through anything else, that I'm not seeing anything here that, to me, concerns me all that much. Once again, this article is about apartment units in large apartment complexes, which are going to be owned by companies to begin with, as opposed to, I think, what this bill targets, which is single-family homes, which is a absurdly small percentage that are owned by institutional investors, including private equity.
Yeah, but
so I mean, real quick. So, to the extent that this is related, because it's not super related to this bill, but to the extent that this is related, I have no problem with a company, regardless of what they call themselves, coming in and buying out the property of another company, and then making changes, some of which might lose them renters, as the article explains. One of the complaints was, well, then they raise the price, and then higher income people come in and move in. Okay. And
Right. What's the issue there?
what's the issue there? Sometimes
my
you're going to want to
God.
market to a higher income group of people.
For sure.
And then the places that they leave open up.
But okay, so this is the issue that I'm having right here. I'm like looking at this bill.
I'm looking
pretty
at their
in-depth
Yelp
right here.
page, and I got to be honest with you. I think that's a hit piece, Prime. I'm not sure that there's anything factual in that thing that you sent.
You haven't read
I
it,
don't-
so let's start with that.
Their
So
Yelp
I-
page
I-
is like
I'm gonna read the whole thing, even including the fucking Freddie Mac part. I'm gonna read the whole
Okay,
thing. You
so-
ready? All right, here we go.
So I've read whatever you just posted, but I have been reading through this bill right here. Right? And
Someone's
so
honest. Thank you, Gibbs.
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to what you were saying, and it kind of got me wondering because part of this that we talked about was the zoning laws, right? And so I started diving into this, and there's some kind of interesting stuff in here, right? And so one of the things they want to do is they want to have you updating zoning codes and regulatory process, adopting pre-approved pattern books of housing designs and speed of approvals for ADUs, duplexes, townhomes, etc.
Sorry, what are you saying? I don't understand. What are you saying?
All right, so they're
Can you
using
repeat that?
pre-approved pattern books, right? So it's basically they're just going to be like slop. It's just going to go in. They're just going to be like regular, the cheapest kind of houses you throw up together, whatever you go. And then it also includes like preformed, like kind of like prefab stuff. And then it goes in here and it talks about how it's going to incentivize low income housing and all sorts of stuff like this. I don't know that this is what I was really expecting when I'm reading through what it's going to do for the zoning. When I was thinking the zoning, I was thinking, I deal with a lot of like, we have land all over Texas, right? And so in some neighborhoods, there's oil. Well, what you'll do is you'll build an oil well and then you'll build a shell of a house around it, which is kind of what I thought they were talking about here. That's not really what they're talking about. They're not saying that they're going to make it easier to build houses in areas where there weren't houses before. It seems like what they're doing is they're going to just like throw a bunch of cheap crap and they're going to try to make low-income housing, lower property values, like lower all these things. And I don't know that this is actually as good as it's been sold now that I'm really in depth into this. I got some concerns, especially in regards to how they're doing the zoning. Do y'all have any thoughts on this?
So I don't want to.
I don't understand zoning. To be fair,
I
that's not
actually
argument.
really want to focus on this part. I don't want to.
Can I focus on it, because like I want to because okay, so like Hunter, what's the problem with what Prime was illustrating was that like a company comes in and buys a majority of the apartment complexes within like a neighborhood. So like I'm gonna relate it to the college town where it was like McKinley. They buy it up. If there's now no competition, and even with the money that they're making, they're building new apartment complexes, but it's under their name, under their tag, under whatever. So it's not like the prices are going down. The prices are going to be going. There is no competition.
Sure. If there's no competition, then that's a monopolistic practice, and I'm against it.
Okay.
So hold on. No, I don't want to, guys. I don't want to focus. So and I see your hand there. Good. Like. Yeah, you're talking about what's the problem. Well, yeah, the problem is that when you take away choice, then it allows these renters to abuse tenants, right? That's the thing, right? You're saying, hey, it doesn't matter if
they operate under different LLCs with one.
Hold on. You were going to have to point to very, very, very specific examples where an entire institutional investor is able to take over an entire fucking city because largely speaking, stop. I'm talking.
No, I'm not going to stop because you're being a fucking weasel. No, I never said they're going to take over an entire city, right? There is no example of them taking an entire city. I never said that, right?
Okay, then what are we talking about? Wasn't that McKinley? Right? Isn't that what the McKinley example was?
Stupid. That's really stupid. I was very specific in what I said previously.
I was responding to Ollie, by the way, but go ahead.
The more. Did you say one of them was going to take over an entire city?
It's not that they take over entire cities, but
you
have
not what
like
McKinley
large
is?
groups of people who are buying out. You have companies that are buying out apartment complexes, right? And if like one of them owns 7 different apartment complexes under different names, right? One's like Spice Tree, one's Longmeadow, one's whatever.
The bill that was just passed doesn't really apply to apartment complexes. It applies.
I know. He changed the conversation.
We understand that. Yeah, we're moving the conversation.
So they're operating under different names, like.
I understand. So they're taking over an entire city under different names. Yes.
No, an entire city.
I'm not following. Then what are we talking about?
Hold on. We're talking about private equity taking over apartment buildings. We didn't say the entire city worth of apartment buildings. You didn't have to.
No. Why can't they just move to a different part of the city that's not owned by this institutional investor?
Yes, exactly. Hold on. When you take
that's because that's what I was talking about with the zoning and the incentives.
We just had a conversation.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
Shut the fuck up, Gibbs. I don't know what you're saying.
Well,
trying to
hold on.
listen
This
to
is hold on. I've been quiet this whole time, and this
Fair.
is
I'm just
exactly
trying
what I
to
was
listen
just
to
talking.
Brian.
This is
I know.
This is
That is
exactly
fair.
what y'all I was just talking about with regards to like how these are going to be taken over, what they're going to zone, what buildings are going to take, what's the prefab, what they're like incentivizing, how they're going to use old buildings. This is everything I was just talking about, and you're like, oh no, and now you're like, oh okay, now let's talk about it. It's kind of crazy that y'all are just like
So-
making a fool.
So what I was saying, hold on. What I'm saying is that like you can become a big enough buyer, right, and a big enough player within a market, right, where you can start dictating terms, right. You don't have to be
Three
the only
companies on all
player. Great.
apartments.
So hopefully you understand that, Hunter. Great.
Right.
So now that we've understood that, that will be the problem. You're saying, hey, first of all, why can't these people just move, right? Like after we had a conversation about the difficulties of like moving out of the country, yeah, you know, it's not the same, but it's also difficult for people to move from one place to another, right? To upend their lives, to destroy whatever they had going on. Maybe their work is close to them. Now maybe they have to travel much farther away, and this happened not because there was some sort of change in the market, right? Only because this company, which we could say this investment firm, bought it up and decided to make these changes. Right? There wasn't some sort of a massive change. They just simply did this. They imposed this upon this. And you're like, well, why can't they just immiserate the population? This is a very liberal way of thinking, of course.
Hold on,
What difference would it make, right? Why don't we just
Also,
move these
Lactoid,
people
stop reading
around?
that
It actually
stupid
does
fucking
cause.
article. Jump in.
I'm almost done. Almost done.
I don't know. I'm like
Yeah. Hold on. So hold on.
I'll respond.
Okay. Well, while we're doing that, sorry. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna do this myself. You guys were talking a lot. I'm gonna talk now. So, Hunter.
Yes.
Hunter. Like, does the quality of the lives of the citizens of a region, of a location, does that matter at all, right?
Yes, I
Or
would say it
can a
does.
corp? Oh, it does. Okay, good.
It does.
All right,
It
so then you
does.
would say. So then on the other end, then you would say that that would inhibit the ability that then we should be allowed to inhibit the abilities of corporations to immiserate them.
I would say insofar that it would help them, sure, but I don't think it would help them.
How would it not help them?
Because largely speaking, wait, hold on. Fuck. We got so lost to the point. Here's the point. I'm not even gonna answer that question. I want to get to your main point.
build more apartments to affordable. That's the point.
No, I'm
So
gonna address
I'm
Prime's
sorry.
point. I'm addressing Prime's point. Prime's point is, okay, I want to be super clear. I don't want, this is a question because I think that I understand you. Maybe I don't. Okay. You're saying an institutional investor can take up a large enough part of a town's houses insofar that they can determine how those houses are operating, and they can ensure that prices don't go down, and they can reduce competition within a city. Is that fair to say or no?
Within a city, and specifically a type of
A
housing
region.
market
We'll
as
say
well.
a region, like a small part of a city.
No, I hear you, right? But I'm saying, like, I'm just adding one other part to this, right? Because
I would say you have. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just very quickly, just one other part to it, right? Because what we're talking about here is that they're not going after just any type of housing, right? They focus on specific sectors, right? Our friend Ali talked about like them buying college dorms or whatever, right? Yeah. Like in the article, it does say that, maybe Lactoid read it, of a point where the private equity switched to that type of investment strategy. So, but in this particular investment strategy, we're talking about apartment buildings. So that sector of the housing market in that region. But go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to say, also, Grid does want to get in here, but I do want to.
Yeah, I'm trying to be very polite here, but I it's fine. I'll listen to the.
I do want to say, first off, if a company is overtaking an entire sector of houses, yeah, I would be against that.
Okay, let me ask you, Hunter. So let's.
No. Before you jump in, I want to get this out because we're gonna move away from this. So Hunter, right? I got questions for Hunter. You got a question for Lactoid. I'm gonna get those questions out.
I do have to answer this. I do think, first off, housing is one of the most diversified assets in America. It's owned, largely speaking, by mom and pops. Like, It's not like food. It's not like stores. It's like this is almost solely
God.
built by landlords who are just grandparents who own their house
Oh
and
my
are
God.
giving it
Can
to
I
their.
say-
Oh my God.
Look,
No,
hold
no,
on,
no,
hold on,
no,
let me-
no, don't. I want to focus on one thing. Else we're going to fragment.
focusing
So I'm
on
going to
one
say
thing.
you're going to have to be really specific with these specific with these incidents that you're referring to are going to be very sparse between them. It's not this global national issue, but
So-
those times that they occur,
Yes,
sure,
exactly
they're bad.
what I said.
Hunter,
Exactly,
Hunter,
right? It's not a
Hunter,
global national issue.
if I may.
Just want to. I just no, not please, not yet. I just want to handle this myself.
Yeah, shut the
okay?
fuck
Right?
up, Grid. All right, the boys
So
are talking.
we'll get to you, Grid. I promise, Grid. We're going to get to you.
Watch
yeah.
it.
So the. No, sorry, no, I didn't say that.
Yeah, I read the whole article.
Oh, thank you, Lactoid. Okay.
Yeah,
but
Grid was right. It's a hit piece.
I
Okay,
know
good.
because I
It
reviewed
seemed
that.
it seemed like shit for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. So like one, it's not just one company, and they don't, like I said previously.
No, but it
they
is
don't
one
have
company.
to-
It's just under different
No.
LLCs.
That's a strategy that some of these investors do, right? And that does indeed limit competition. But there could have been multiple companies doing the same thing. But in effect, right, we have
An
a bunch of
oligopoly.
companies-
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, you know the name, but I'm saying in effect, we have a block of housing that's taken away, right, from these other types of ownership strategies that offer it's seemingly different results, right? Have a pattern of offering different results to this one strategy that has to have high returns very quickly. So why the problem with private equity? Private equity is, and Lactoid knows this because he read the article. Private equity, their funds often last for 10 years, right? Like that's the life of the fund. And within that 10 years, they have to get returns, right? And so within that set time frame, hey, I got to buy up housing, right? I got to institute some change, right? And then I have to get a return on that investment. A private equity is trying to do extremely high returns on that investment. So how do you do that? Well, you could maybe, right, buy up the housing and then make improvements. What our friend Good talked about that, right? He says he buys up housing and he makes improvements that raises the property value, right? And if you can't buy it, well, whatever, right? I just made like more quality housing. That's your problem, not my problem. Okay, that's one thing. Or you could just buy up the property, jack up rates, right? Apropos of actually doing nothing, right? Reduce services, like it was shown in the article, which Lactoid knows because he read it. And you can make the experience worse, right? Or actually adding anything into it, right? As opposed to other ownership strategies that aren't on a time limit. They don't have to make their money back immediately. They can hold this property for a long time. When you do that, when you do that, it also encourages a longer term thinking. Well, we're not trying. There's not an asset I have to get off my books immediately, right, within a 10-year time span, right? I don't have to get this off my books immediately. I'm actually trying to create relations, have good customer service, and so we don't have to engage in predatory practices. So yes, it makes a difference. The incentives are the problem, not simply that like private equity did it, right, where the money comes from. No, it's the incentives that are aimed at extracting as much value as possible in a short amount of time. There you go.
Okay,
Real
may
quick,
I please?
Go ahead, Grid.
Because Hunter, I want to ask you something. If I, for example, owned 65% of the available apartments in a town, would you say that I had like a monopoly?
Not even, probably not. It would depend on how.
But would I meet your threshold for being the bad guy?
It depends if rents are
controlling costs. 65% is a lot of doors, and every unit that I own is around 100 doors, maybe more.
It would. I don't even understand. It depends on the market. Like I don't know what the. No. Here's the thing. I don't know how much you would need to own in order to stabilize the price and reduce the the quality of the homes without lowering
Why would
costs.
that reduce? Why does that in your mind, it inherently reduces the quality of the home that I would own 65%?
No, it
Well,
doesn't.
this
I didn't-
bill
I said
inherently
otherwise.
reduces the value of the homes. That's what I keep trying to tell y'all. The way I'm reading this, it's literally the way it's laid out. The incentives, it incentivizes.
Grit, I
you
don't. I
to
think you're
make
misunderstanding
shittier
me.
prefab homes as opposed
I
to
could be. That's what I'm trying to. I'm trying to ask you these questions.
I'm saying obviously if you have 100% of homes,
Mhm.
you can do whatever you want with the homes and not decrease the prices.
Well,
I don't know if
so-
65% you
so,
are able to do that. It's
I
all
know
about
Prime hates private equity, but I am private equity. I literally have a real estate trust.
I don't hate
or
private
a
equity.
real estate fund.
I said that
he
at the very
hates private
start.
equity. You got
I
it
said
right.
at the very start, I don't hate that.
Yeah.
I said
He
like
does.
it doesn't matter.
I'm literally
It's just
that guy.
investment
I mean,
strategy.
we've got one fund. We're doing another fund, and we're going to get now.
He's
we're
that
looking-
guy, Prime.
I am that guy.
Just
And
building.
It is okay. You can hate me, but,
He's
but
the
I
villain.
I don't hate
none of
you.
the
I
things
don't
you're talking
hate
about.
Grid can't
He is
listen.
that
He has-
guy.
None
Grid
of
is a
none
villain.
of the
It's fine.
things
He
that you
wants to be
guys
the
are
bad boy.
talking about are things that I do. I'm right now in negotiations with a guy. There's a guy in Florida that owns
talking about you.
65% of the apartment buildings in this
Are you
town.
He's
feeling
gonna
attacked?
quiet up, raise the rents. He's
What
gonna
he
do what
does is
likes.
he goes to these boomers who are in their 80s that own these apartment complexes, and their kids don't want to have anything to do with it. They just want to sell it, and he buys it from them, usually
Yeah.
in cash.
Great.
And now he owns 65%, and we didn't we didn't realize he owned that much of this, and now we actually are in the middle of doing a deal with him to buy another 100-door apartment complex from that exact
Oh
thing.
wait a minute! Is he one of the guys that will like send out the mailers like, "Hey, we'll buy your home for cash"?
I have no idea how he gets the leads.
If he's
or
buying
anything.
apartment complexes,
Is
no.
it usually older? Hold on, is his customer base usually older people?
Yeah, he's like what he was telling is like most of them are like in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah,
and
don't let your
forever.
family sell to guys like this. Oh
And,
god, I know what this guy does.
The family just doesn't want anything to do with it, and he buys them, and we're in the
Or
middle
they
of trying
don't
to do
know.
a deal with him. I think it's going to go through. We'll see. But
Yeah.
that would
What's
give
your-
him
I don't-
go from 65 to 75% of the apartments in this town that I live in, which is not a small town. And I didn't
Okay.
realize that one guy owned all of that shit. That was very funny to find that
It's
out.
kind of how it is.
So,
It's one guy or
I
a
ha-
couple guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So hon,
And
None
so
of the-
I'm just curious when you talk about this and so you have all of these people. There's literally no reason for us as a private equity firm to downgrade any services. Matter of fact, we're trying to offer more services because we're now having to compete with smaller, more mobile, more boutique.
You're a good company, but
Sorry.
that's not indicative
Johan,
of
no,
all
no, 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 don't
companies.
even-
No, but
Don't
he's
give
saying
that-
that's the
hold on, 1 second.
incentive.
Fine, knock
He's
it
saying
off.
that that's
Don't
how
give
I
him-
make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Don't
how I
give
make
him that.
money.
Hold on 1 second. Don't give him that. One, I don't know anything about your fucking business. I don't know anything about your fucking business. And I don't know if it counts as to the things that we're talking about, talking about large institutional private business. Because we're not just talking about anyone that raises money privately, right? And then invests that right within a small fund to
you
buy
can invest, Brian.
different houses, right?
You
Yes,
can
I know. Hold on. But like that's not that, and that's fine, right? And I hope you're doing well, and I hope everything you're saying is true, right? But we don't need to analyze it. We don't need to get distracted by it. We don't have to deal with that, right? Because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about large institutional private investors within this private equity sphere,
That's
and
what he's talking
how
about.
they
75% of the doors of apartment buildings
doesn't-
in a town is
doesn't
a big
matter. Doesn't matter, hon. I don't have to. I do not have to like spend my time guessing about the anecdote that you're trying to come up with, right? I'm talking about a larger trend within the housing market, right? So that's what we're discussing.
And I'm asking you to
Talking about-
prove the trend because you haven't. You
Yeah, I have. You haven't. I have, and you've
It has
engaged in
nothing
nothing.
to do with
I have.
anything.
I don't
And I
care.
keep asking you to please tell me what the threshold is.
Shut the fuck
What
up.
is it?
You have
What's
no
the
idea. You're
threshold?
actually just saying nonsense.
Hunter
Shut
couldn't
up.
give me the
I'm trying
threshold
to.
because
Shut up.
there
Hold
isn't
on.
one.
Nope. You're gonna shut
Well, I
up.
don't think that they're.
Shut the
I don't
fuck up,
know if
please.
they're.
Shut the fuck up. I am trying to actually have this conversation. Stop fucking distracting me. Stop it. Stop it. Shut the fuck up. Stop it. Okay? We're having this conversation. I'm not gonna fucking guess. I don't know whatever the fuck you're doing in your fucking apartment buildings. I have no idea. I hope it goes well for you. I hope it's profitable for you, right? But it's not what we're talking about. So stop fucking distracting me. fuck. Any which way, back to it. All right, back to it. The Lactoid, what did you have to say?
Prime, you gotta fucking calm down.
I feel like I got the judge.
Don't fucking tell me to do that.
After.
Hold on, stop. Hold on.
Oh boy.
Don't fucking tell me to do that. Say it again.
Okay.
Don't fucking tell me to do that.
Okay.
Hold on, you want to say something to me? Hold on, do you have something to say to me? Do you have something to say to me, Hunter? Yeah, you. Yeah, I'm fucking talking.
I think
to
you got anger issues. Yeah, I think you gotta calm down.
Okay, get the fuck out of here. Moving on. Lactoid.
I think Gibbs has something interesting to say. I saw his hand up
Lactoid,
earlier.
please.
Gibbs.
Lactoid, please.
I have no comments.
Lactoid, please.
Well, I had a comment on the article. I don't know if the current, because I was saving that, and there was like a current back and forth. I don't know if this might be a little bit off topic from that.
So I would like to talk about the article, or not just the article. Sorry. Specifically, I like to talk about like the larger part of the sector, right? In terms of the private equity, the large actors there, and how they interact with the market. That's what I had asked you originally. So,
Sure.
like, what are your thoughts on that?
So I guess I'm going to relate it to the article, but I'm going to bring it to, I guess, the larger question. So the example that they use in the article, I think that I do somewhat agree with Grid that there is a hit piece element to it, and that they really hyperfixate on how terrible this, the Gray Star is, how horrible it is when they come in and took over the apartment complex. But I think here's a critical part of the article. They hyperfixate on the anecdotal examples of people getting a bad deal, or what's perceived to be a bad deal. But every time, one of the complaints was, oh, they can just get somebody who's willing to pay more, right? They can just get somebody who's going to come in and raise the and pay the increased rent that they're paying for the perceived lesser services than they get. And so my argument would be this: if the market is reacting this way, I think what it demonstrates is the people that were already living there were getting a good deal, right? And I think that a lot of the frustration comes from the fact that they're no longer getting this really good deal, and that the terms of the private equity, when they come in and they set the higher rates and they reduce the services, this actually is meeting the market demand for that area better, which I just don't blame them for, right? If you raise your cafe prices and people are willing to come in and you don't have a loss in volume, then of course there's, as a business, there's nothing wrong with doing that. Now that's the first thing. There was one thing brought up in the article that I actually think is a decent point. I think all of it was hot trash, honestly, except for this one point, which is that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are, and I already knew this, they're corporations that have a congressional charter. They're government backed, and the mortgages are government backed. And these large institutional investors are able to use government backed mortgages to finance their purchases, these acquisitions. I don't see why that needs to be a thing. Like, I'd be okay with moving all of that to private. Like, if you want to get a private mortgage from a bank to purchase a giant building like that, I'm fine with that. But I think it is fair to say, well, why should they get the benefit of having a government-backed mortgage that can offer them better rates than a private bank can? Because it offloads a lot of the risk to the taxpayers. That was the one. There was like basically a paragraph of that. The rest of it was focusing this anecdotal example. There's two gay guys. Their dog fee rose 25%. They're really pissed about that. That was a big part of the article. But the whole government-backed mortgages part, fair enough. That probably shouldn't be a thing. So
I agree. Okay, I didn't cut you off.
No, that's good. That's
Okay.
that's basically it. I think that a lot of the complaints are bad. A lot of the complaints are really just anti-market. I think that when you look at a lot of people that are commenting, they're really proposing like we need rent control, we need anti-market solutions, which I think is all bad. But there is a paragraph in there that I think that it says, well, why should they be able to get this government-backed mortgage? And it's like, well, you know, fair enough. Why should they? I don't know.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that point. I'm going to expand. I'm going to let Hunter in a second. I'm going to expand on another piece of it. But on that point, yes, the article talks about like these government-backed loans that these institutional investors can get. It goes on and it shares like, was it like of the top 20 of the biggest loans that Freddie Mac made within some sort of span of time, right? It all went to these private equity.
Because they're making big purchases. To be fair,
Yeah, no, they are. Sorry, what would you say, Scott? I'm sorry, not Scott. Grid.
It's all right.
apologize.
Scott and I look so much alike.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, whatever.
What time period was that? What were those loans
The
made?
time period? I can find it for you. So I don't have it off the top of my head. Private equity firms are behind 85% of Freddie Mac's deals. It says a time period here, but one second, I have to find what it is. It might have been within 1 year, or it might have been.
It was like 2017, 2018.
It's around that time, but I'm sorry. I know there's a year in here. I just I don't know where it is. Apologies. Can I get to that to you later? I'll have to look for it. But it's within some sort of time.
It's just kind of melds in with what I was talking about earlier. How as an investor, you are not allowed to use those conventional type mortgages, except when specific people have removed the controls off the banks, including Freddie, access to Freddie and Fannie. And what happens is now you have corporations that in under normal circumstances cannot legally use these type of loans, and then all of a sudden they can, and they take great advantage of it. So I'm just curious if it was within what time period it's in, and if those controls had been removed, because I know that when Trump got into office, in first term, one of the first things he did was shut that down, because he understands how that kills the real estate.
I think this was 2016, I believe so. There's a few years here, but I think it's 2016 within the article. In 2016, the biggest loans involving private equity firms made up at least 11% of Freddie's total deal volume. Data shows in 2017 they accounted for at least 6%. Graystar's purchase that year was part of a deal worth nearly 1.8 billion. So I think this in particular was talking about 2017, either 2016 or 2017. But I'd have to read through it again to
again in 2017 I got a call from my banker telling me that they could put me into a conventional loan on an investment property, also that they would use, and this is what should really scare you, is I didn't have to actually use actual income to justify the loan. I could use estimated rental income as part of my qualifying financial packet. I didn't actually have to prove that I was actually going to make that. Just say that it's going to rent for $1,800 a month or whatever, and they would accept that as part of my financial packet.
So I just want to quickly do this and move on. So anyway, I agree with you, friend Lactoid, right? You were talking about these loans, right? And well, maybe the part that you might disagree with me is that, like, as part of the criticism within the article is that we're getting these loans, these government-backed loans, but then there's like no guarantee. We get nothing for that, right? And so they particularly were talking about tenant protections, right? Like, if you're going to take these loans, right? Well, why shouldn't from the public trust, why shouldn't we get some level of public good for it? And so it may not necessarily be rent stabilization, because I know my friends wouldn't be a fan of that, but there might be other things maybe we could agree on, like benefits to the people living there. You're getting these loans, because remember, you're getting these loans as a discount, right? In terms of their interest rates and all that, right? And so should that cost something? right? Should
Well,
there be
that
some
was my problem, because the proposals to me are like, they're negatively influencing a market that I think is particularly responsive to supply and demand, and it's important to be responsive to supply and demand, specifically demand, right? Like, you want there to be a dynamic housing market,
I agree.
and I think that when you get to the point where it's like, oh, we're gonna, certain rent controls that's gonna discourage building
But
housing.
not, again, not rent
kind of-
controls. Yeah.
Right, you're saying not rent controls, but
Yeah.
it's not the same thing, but it's sort of the same thing when you're demanding like a certain level of service be provided, because now that is a additional cost that you're going to have to be paying more, which is really just the difference between like a lack of incoming as opposed to more outgoing. On a balance sheet, it's still worse, right? It's still less overall net for what you're doing, and that's a net that's not as responsive to the market.
So
The one thing I'll say is, I think that the intuition of, well, if the public is backing these loans, shouldn't the public get something out of it? I think this is the problem with the public backing the loans in the first place. These big institutional investors, especially, right? You want to make an argument about, buying your own mortgage, or maybe even like a local landlord or whatever. Like, we can argue about that. But if you're a large private equity fund, I think it's perfectly reasonable to expect you to go to a bank and get a loan the way that you should in a free market. That should be how it works.
Well,
so I disagree. And this is just me being a socialist and you being a fake libertarian.
Also a socialist.
Yeah, also a socialist. Yeah.
But yeah, like I think I just don't mind imposing costs on companies, especially if that cost is for the benefit of the public. I'm okay with taking a level of dynamism out of the market. There's all kinds of friction that goes into like being a market player, right? I don't mind the like imposing some sort of quality controls on a company that like benefits the public, right? As being one of those one type of friction involved in it. But yeah. And it's okay. I understand you have a disagreement on that one. And that's just the way it's going to be. But I have more to say. But before then, I'm going to let Hunter back in here. Hunter's back.
Glad to be back, boys.
Yeah, Hunter, do me a favor. One second. One second. Before you do that, Hunter, hey, don't fucking disrespect me like that again. Don't ever fucking do it. Don't do it. Don't tell me how to do my job. Don't make you snide comments at me, right? Don't fucking test me on this shit. I'm glad to have you, Hunter, but don't fucking test me like that. Don't mess with me.
Okay.
Are we understood? Good. Great. Then I'm happy to have you. All right, we can move on. Go ahead, Grid.
Yeah. So one thing on the financing thing is like when we do a deal, we leverage as much as we can in the deal, but banks typically won't loan us more than about 60% of the cost. So we 40%. We have to come up with ourselves, and we do that through either the fund and just use cash, or we'll use bridge loans occasionally to make that so we'll put 20% of our own cash in, and we'll take 20% in a bridge loan, and the remaining 60% will be an actual mortgage, but still not a conventional mortgage like you would think of, like your mom and dad would buy a house with. And so I think that one of the things we have to be really careful of is how we think about these loans and how they're structured, because they're all structured very generally, and I don't know what this deal with Freddie and Fannie was with this specific deal that they did. That seems very, honestly, sounds illegal to me, but I'd have to know more about it. But one of the big things that I deal with a lot is just, are we in compliance? Are we going to catch something on the backside where we get the deal done and then we're hit with some sort of fine, or we're going to be tied up in court because we didn't do things right? And by the way, when that happens, investors all of a sudden are not very happy investors, and they want their money back. To buy into my fund is about $75,000 as a base. So we have people that are, that's where it starts. And when somebody gives you that much money, they want to know what you're doing with it. They need to know that there are controls and you're being careful with it. And so I don't know what, I mean, again, I don't know what these guys are doing. I mean, obviously they're dealing out, if they're talking a $1.8 billion deal, that's a chunk. So,
what kind of profit margin is the normal, I guess, is an expectation on a $75,000 investment?
I mean, most people want to see at least 5 to 7% per year on your worst year, right? So they want to see more, right? Like they'd love to see it when we're showing them 20, 25%. Because we've remodeled, or the equity in the house has grown so much, and whatever. They love to see that. Everybody loves that. But at the end of the day, we have to play within the rules, or at least the small guys do, because between the IRS and all of these other agencies, they would love to just catch us sleeping and put take a bunch of money. So.
For sure.
Okay.
And then Lactoid knows.
So
IRS, boo.
Oh, of course.
No, don't boo them.
So my larger point is that private equity is not a neutral thing, and that like there can be specific incentives that drive specific. I see you, Corey. I'll go to you next. Specific investment. Specific incentives, yes, that drive behavior, right? That like the incentives that drive, for instance, grid, right? Or let's say our friend Gibbs, right? I'm sure Gibbs owns a few properties, right? Like those can be different. Now, it doesn't mean like they can't arrive at the same conclusion, right? Gibbs has no problem like extracting as much money from a situation as possible. He's made that very clear to us. Doesn't mean you can't arrive at the same conclusion under a different incentive scheme, but like if you put people in a similar situation, right, and give them similar incentives, overall you're going to see patterns emerge. That's what I'm talking about with this private equity. That the goal is to get as much money out of investment in a short amount of time, right? Like, do you have time necessarily to build in to raise the value of the property, right? Raise the value of the services or anything like that? Are you doing that, or are you just immiserating the people under you? And I don't think it's simply acceptable, right? If our libertarian friends say it's not acceptable that you just go to a different country, I also don't think it's acceptable to necessarily uproot families and tell them to go fuck off to wherever the hell you land, right? Especially in a tight housing market. Now, I agree with what Hunter was saying before. Absolutely agree in terms of like, well, you should be raising supply, right? Yes, that is part of the process, right? 100%. We should be doing that. Within the article, right, that Lactoid said he read, it talks about that you need like 320,000 units. I'm not sure if those are just apartment units or any type of housing using to keep up with demand, just like population growth, right? And we haven't been meeting that, right? And that might be also a regulation issue. There's all kinds of reasons why we aren't meeting those goals. But in the end, we should be raising that up. I agree that if we were raising supply, right, there's more housing units coming on the market that would dilute the power of these institutional investors. But that's not happening. And in the world that we live in right now, I agree with all of that, right? I agree with what Hunter said there, and I agree with a few other things that have been said, right? I agree with that. But in the world we have now, we haven't built enough, right? We have the housing market that we do, and in that market, that very tight market in some metropolitan areas, right? People still need to work, they still need to live. And we shouldn't be immiserating them like this, tossing them out just for the profits of a corporation. That's my argument. Anyone else can address that or not?
I think part of it, I think part of the main difficulty that we're going to have, Prime, is that in a supply and demand calculation, you're trying to hit like a natural equilibrium. And if you feel as though, which I think is the case, that we're short on the supply side, that we're not reaching the demand, the absolute last thing you want to do is make it less profitable to build houses. And this is the big issue with rent control, but this is also the big issue. When
Are they building houses? Are they a lot of these? They might be. I'm asking. I'm like, that's a general question.
They are, but the housing trade isn't just going to be building housing. It's going to be buying housing and renovating it. It's going to be buying housing and changing its use, changing what class you're marketing to. All of this is important when it comes to a city naturally developing. But also, they're taking those profits and they are going to be building housing in the event that it makes sense, in the event that it actually is profitable. And that's all part of it. And this bill, to I guess give it a little bit of credit here, this bill does recognize that to some degree, in that it, I think, very specifically doesn't prohibit institutional investors from building houses. The problem I have with it is that it puts limitations on how long they can hold on to that housing. And what I'm concerned about is, again, whenever you limit the profit margin of people that are going out and building housing, I, as an investor, am going to be less interested in investing in that. Because why would I invest in any like a REIT? Why would I invest in some kind of housing-based private equity firm when instead I can put my money in the market elsewhere and get a consistent, 7 to 10% return without having to deal with the headache of renters, who can be a massive headache to deal with, right? I need to see more cheddar. I have to see more than market returns if I'm going to deal with renters. I have to get enough money to put up with renters to make it worth my time. And we need all landlords to feel it profitable enough that they are going to put money into housing as opposed to the stock market.
That's how we're going to drive prices down, right?
I'm going to go to Corey next because he's been waiting, right? I'm going to go to Corey next. But I'm going to say this, right? And this, we will find no agreement here, good friend. But yeah,
I started off by saying this is the disagreement.
No. I got a bigger disagreement than that.
Capitalism, making money generally.
I
know I'm not that far off.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, friend, here is that like when we're dealing with public goods or public necessities, right? Human necessities, maybe I should say, that we shouldn't be left to the whims of the market, right? We shouldn't have to necessarily make it as profitable, as attractive for an investor to actually put their money in and hope for the best. No, in fact, we can actually, as a government, right, we can put our money to these public goods. We can build housing. We can do that, right? As a nation, we can do that. Other nations do that, and they can build high quality housing. And in this country, our problem was we didn't do that. Right, we built housing in certain neighborhoods where we concentrated poverty. We didn't invest in those neighborhoods, either in the buildings or in the infrastructure around them, right? To help raise the value of those neighborhoods, to give more opportunities to those people living there, and then the obvious outcomes happened. Right, that's the big problem. But in other countries, they don't do that. Right, they invest in housing, they create housing, and they invest in the infrastructure around that, and they have good outcomes. So let's do the good thing rather than the bad thing. But
the Euro poor countries.
Are you saying every European country is poor, like Norway?
The Euro poor countries.
What? Yeah, so you're going to find every country that's poor is zero poor.
I'm pretty sure the only country that has above, like leaving aside Monaco and these little things that are
let's go to
countries. I'm pretty sure that the only country that has like a higher disposable income than us is, or no, I think we're on top. I think Luxembourg. I think we've been vying with Luxembourg. Which
metric are you using? You're just using disposable income or like per capita GDP or
disposable income, like income per person.
That might be true. Per capita GDP, I know
because we're rich. We're rich. And when you look at the GDP, when you look at GDP per
capita, and they've
those
done
like
better
Monaco, Luxembourg,
and they've done better for their. Actually, I don't know about Monaco in particular. I don't know. But they've the
tax havens.
Nations I'm talking about have done better for their citizens with less money. Right? Yeah. Those are
the only examples you have. No.
Yeah.
You have Norway, which is like an oil country, and they got lucky with
you
that.
Can invest that oil.
You have Qatar
into the people.
Isn't United States an oil country?
Yeah, it's an oil country.
No, we are, but like per capita, nothing like Norway. Or Qatar,
hold on.
Or Saudi Arabia.
I mean, Kuwait will give you a house when you get married.
And yet billions of dollars appear out of nowhere when we're going to go bomb brown people on the other side of the world. It's not that we don't have money.
I'm opposed to bombing the brown people.
I know you are. Okay. It's not a criticism towards you, right? This is
all right,
the system.
I'm also opposed to bombing the white people. which is happening right now too.
I'm not.
I know Hunter's not, but
It's a joke. I'm against bombing white people, guys.
Everybody gets a bomb. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm
Bombs for
There we
everybody.
go, Gibbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, like to the system seems to find money, right, for all these things that aren't public goods. Actually, we can just invest in that, right? We're seeing that for a reason the housing market, and there's lots of reasons why we aren't meeting supply levels in terms of investors, right? And some of them are good. Some of them are even government problems, right? There's lots of reasons why that's not happening. But in any case, right, we're seeing a problem. Government can actually intercede in this and make a positive difference in it. And I don't reject that. I don't reject it out of this like crazy notion that public housing equal bad thing, right? I think there's forces in this country that were very much invested in making that the case. And
guys, I'm gonna have to get off
that
of here
propaganda
in
won't
just a
work
few
on me.
minutes. So
Let's before then. Let's get Corey because he's been waiting, and then we can go to Hunter or anyone else.
This nonsense.
I do want to maybe clarify something, Prime. So, like, is it your expectation? I think similar to like Ali's of like, let's say, the average American should expect that they own a home and that home appreciates in value.
No, it's an asset.
Okay.
Can appreciate or depreciate. Yeah.
Okay. So then I guess my question doesn't apply. So, but then Ali, it seems like if I'm understanding you correctly, like you are of that expectation, but correct me if I'm wrong, of like, as in you don't see a problem of like having the expectation of like the average American should be able to like own a home and that home should like pretty much in all circumstances appreciate in value.
So not all circumstances, expectation, but understanding that there's a risk, right? You can buy into a bad neighborhood. You can buy into a neighborhood that people are leaving, so on and so forth. It's not you're not guaranteed that your house is going to appreciate in value. You have to make the right decision.
No, I understand, not guaranteed, but it's like that should be like the average.
That's the hope. That's the goal.
I understand, but you think that should be the average American's hope and expectation.
Goal.
I don't think the average American.
So then I'd be curious to know, like, then why would you be against this like this private equity buying up apartment complexes? Because it's like, well, because the private equity, they don't buy. Well, they are not the majority owner of households, family households in the United States.
It's the reason I'm against that is because I don't think the majority of Americans are going to be able to afford homes. They're going to have to be forced to rent, right? They're going to move to apartment complexes. I think when you have I think when you have two or three like private equity companies that like own the majority, if not all, the apartment complexes in one area, there's no competition. The rent's just going to go up, and that they continue to buy like lesser properties, and they don't have to renovate them because that they just own it, and then the rent can go up in that property as well.
Yeah, but I think that would then speak to Hunter's point of like, well, that there should be like they would want to increase building. I'm pretty sure Hunter is not advocating for building more houses, but like to your point, like that means that there should be building more houses because like you want the average American to like own a house and that house appreciate in value. So it's like, well, why should you should be advocating for just building more single household houses?
I think people should be able to build more. I'm not against building single family houses. I'm against the way I'm saying I don't think the issue is that we need to build more apartment complexes in cities, because I don't think that helps the affordability. I don't think that does anything for affordability.
Okay.
I lived in a shitty apartment in downtown in Detroit, and like once again there was a bunch of new renovation and new buildings going up. All that happened was someone bought my shitty building and made the price go up. And so it's like it's not like they bought it and now my building was better and my rent was cheaper. It's like, nope, my rent just went up and I just lived in the same shitty building.
Then presumably, like, okay, given like you have one policy to enact, like the passing the policy of like banning private equity or institutions from owning apartment complexes does nothing to achieve your goal, then, right?
Oh, well, what's my goal? Right, my goal
well,
is, like,
from what I understand, like your goal is like the average American should have a house, own a house, and that house should appreciate in value.
So no, actually, my goal is just that so people can afford their rent at this point. I don't think building more apartments does anything for people being able to afford their rents. I don't think selling these apartments. Once again, I just haven't experienced it. Like, you can show me stats all day, but the experience for me is the nicer a city. Like to everyone's point here. Wait, everyone's point here. Wait, come here. The point of buying property is to make money. And the point of fixing property is to make it worth more, right? And the point of owning property in an area that's on the up and up is that your property is going to be worth more money. So like Prime, when you were saying, like when we were talking about like owning, when we were talking about owning land and so on and so forth, if you own a shitty, if I live in a shitty apartment complex and the apartment complexes around me, there's new apartments being built, the ones next to me are being renovated. This doesn't tell me that my rent is going to be cheaper. It means that rent around me, the property value is increasing because the areas around me are becoming nicer. There's new properties, there's renovated properties, which means my property is either going to get renovated or it's going to get purchased, right? When it gets renovated or when it gets purchased, my rent is going to go up.
You're
That
really
is
not
just
accounting
what
for
happens.
filtering.
Well, there's that, but then I just want to clarify further because it sounds like based on what you said that your goal is to have people afford their rent. But I just heard, that's why I wanted to clarify, like your ultimate goal is you want Americans to be able to own their house and that house increases in value.
That is the American goal. That's the American dream and goal.
Well,
Is that we should be able to afford
dream.
Is that the direction that you want to, like that? You
I would
want
love
to,
for that to go in that
you want
direction. Yeah, of
policies to enact. So then you would agree that banning private equity does nothing to achieve your goal of that being the goal of like Americans owning homes, that homes appreciate.
Yes, it doesn't help that goal, but it helps a different goal of mine.
Yeah, but the suboptimal goal.
I mean, but that's the majority of people. Like majority of people live in suboptimal. I wish the majority of people could own their own homes and live freely, but that's just not going to happen. So like, yeah, as much as I'd want the American dream to like succeed and be passing, the actual issue right now, I feel like is that most people are just tied into rent, and that's ever increasing.
But do you not? You don't see any foreseeable problems of like Americans having the expectation or the ultimate goal of like they own their home and that home must appreciate, or like largely on average should appreciate in value. You
no,
think,
what's the issue with that?
The issue is that they're going to expect that to occur, and when it doesn't, they're going to go to the city council meeting to restrict housing in their local neighborhoods so that it goes up.
Do you think that like when someone buys a house and the house value goes down, they immediately think it's because there's new apartment buildings being built, or do you think it's because like
if they're smart, isn't
upkeeping in the? Well, most people aren't smart, right? Most people aren't smart. Most people, when they buy a house and then their property values go down, they're gonna look around their surrounding 3 to 4 block radius and see what the fuck is going on.
They're gonna be like, the neighborhood, these drug houses need to go.
These are just homeowners. These aren't people
next door need to go.
These aren't people that are like apartment complexes. These are people who buy and own their house just to live in their house. They're not looking at it as like.
So what difference does it make it whether they understand the process or not?
Wait, Grid, do you deny
up the process? So it's like so I don't think the majority of homeowners are going to city council meetings and being like, we don't want these new apartments to be built. Right, that's not what I think. Not for the reason that like they believe that the apartment complex is decreasing the value of their home because people are able to afford rent. It's because they believe that the neighborhood doesn't want these apartment complexes. People are leaving their homes. That's what's happening.
Okay, wait, two things.
What did you want, Hunter? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. First, Grid, do you deny that people who own homes will go into city council meetings to disincentivize
that
housing
just
from being
happened here
built?
a couple of months ago, where they there was a bill on the table to allow farmland or rural property to have 1 home per acre. Right now, it's 1 home per 2 acres is qualified for rural land in the county. If they changed that, that would have been more houses built, and nobody wanted that, and so literally there was a massive movement.
Right? Why?
To stop.
Largely, why did they not want that?
Because they want to live. They don't want
to wait. Hold on, Grid.
Yeah, because they want to live in a rural area. They want to maintain the area as it is. They don't want.
You don't think there's any financial incentive as to why they would do that? You don't think there's any recognition?
I'm sure that there are a few people who are like, yeah, I don't really want my 10 acres or 20 acres or whatever to be worth less, but I think it has more to do with they just don't want the apartment.
People move to the sticks. People move to the sticks to be far away from their neighbors. People move to like up north or like the country or down south so that they can buy land so they can not be near their neighbors. That's why they're doing it.
I agree. There's a double-pronged approach here, and it feels weird, Ollie, that like. It seems like you recognize that there's financial incentives involved in wanting to hold on
I
to
think-
as
wait,
much
Gibbs,
money as
Gibbs, real
possible,
quick.
except in this area.
No, it's not that except in this area. I think the average person, if they're looking into buying a house, are buying into a neighborhood, especially if they can afford it, right? And even in these rural areas where like maybe a house only costs like $112,000, but to them that's like the equivalent of a $300,000 house, right? But they're buying it in like some up north Michigan or down south in some rural area. They're buying into a neighborhood. They're buying into a community or an idea of what this neighborhood is, right? So when you buy into like when you're buying acres of land, the whole idea is, hey, I get to live on my property. No one's gonna fuck with me. I'm not gonna fuck with them. Hopefully, there aren't high taxes on this. I don't want the roads to be paved. I don't want them to plow the snow. I'll take care of that shit myself, right? I want everyone to leave me alone. And then when the city comes in, they go, hey, we're gonna actually we're gonna divvy it up so that like, you know, more parcels of land can be bought and more housing can be built. It's like, well, we don't want that here. That's not why we bought here. I didn't buy into this suburb so that apartment complexes can be built.
I agree that this is part of the problem for sure.
No, that is the problem. It's just you keep thinking that these homeowners are like one politically like smart enough to understand like what this shit. Like the average person is me. It's just some guy who's like, I bought this house. I don't want an apartment built in my backyard.
I agree.
So like, they're not thinking, oh, my property value is going down because an apartment's going up. That's why I'm going to City Hall to fight it. I don't like that framing.
But there's also a whole other angle. I mean, there's got a whole other angle with this too, though. Like, right? So, like, I'll speak at least on this part, right? So, like, where I have my ranch, if you go down, it's between like Corpus and San Antonio, and they're putting up all these wind farms, and they have all these, like, they've been building all these roads for travel between like Karn City and some of these other towns that are growing, and like, so I guess my generation, when they like the families in the area started like dying off, like they kind of like they didn't divvy up all the land, but like everybody got like a little piece, but it's still run by trust and shit. And so everybody started building their like houses, like on these massive plots, like their own homesteads. And so that was cool at first. But then as they got older, they're like, oh, so they had maybe like made these deals with the refineries or made these deals with the like windmill people. And they come out there and like, so now it's starting to get like industrialized, and you have like basically like worker refinery camp like being built in like these places. And it's like you go out there and it's like, this is your ancestral land, and you're like rooting it. And at some point, it's like, hey, like this is no longer what we own. Like you just have to stop, like because otherwise you're not gonna have what you had ever again. Like it's gonna be gone.
You just live in an oil refinery town.
Yeah, and it's also hell. Like you went from being able to go look at like the sky at night to now you go out there and you see like just like lightness of fire coming up from like random little refineries, or you see like the cows like hiding underneath these like windmills and like these weird circles because they don't like to be underneath them. I don't blame them. I would be afraid and follow me too, I guess. But like they're like and they're just starting over there, and all this shit that you have like the industrialized road, and then you have the Caliche road, but it's just destroyed because you have like 18-wheelers going through it all the time. And like this is like an issue that you don't want to like happen in some of these scenarios. Like it's not backyard.
I think Gibbs and Ollie are right, and I think the most important thing to remember is that most people, when it comes to their home value, most people are more worried about their like the 2-block area around them than the apartment complex that's going to be a mile down the road. They just don't give a shit. And so when they go to a city hall meeting and they vote for this stuff, or they say, hey, this is a problem, it's literally in their neighborhood. I think Ollie's right about that. When I get to listen to a lot of these council meetings, and usually they're pretty fucking boring. And every now and again, you'll get one where, something like this whole deal with the houses per acre defining rural land and all of that became a big deal. And it seemed really petty to me, but I mean, this was something that was like really fought over. And I didn't really understand it, but
can we all? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go first.
That's right. I think that one thing that you guys keep dancing around, and I'll just say it out loud, is that the American dream of everybody owning a home is just that. It's a dream. The average person in this country has never just been able to go out and buy a home. That's never been the case. It's like a mythology that we appeal to so that we can feel better about it. My ancestors were poor, and they didn't own a property until late in life, and all of this stuff. So I think that the idea that just everybody's going to get their little plot of heaven is just kind of insane. But at the same time, I enjoy, like Ollie, I'm like, I think that people ought to aspire to that if that's what they want.
Mhm.
And they shouldn't feel the need to live in an apartment complex with 150,000 other people that stretches 40 stories in the air. I don't think that that's good either. So I guess I just don't agree with it. I mean, I don't agree. I just don't like it. It's like any of it.
Can I fight back a little bit, Grid?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think not only is it a goal, and it should be a goal. I think it is attainable. Even now, I agree with you that it's overall housing specifically has experienced inflation, I think at a higher rate than other things. But when you look at this is data from Fred, our federal bank, overall median income is going up, adjusted for inflation. The overall purchasing power of individuals is going up. Home ownership rate still sits currently at about 65%. Most people own homes in America. Renting is the exception, not the rule. I think that's good. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that's a good thing. I think that really what it is I think that for a lot of people, it is to some extent like, yeah, you're going to have to save, you're going to have to invest, you're going to have to prepare to do it. And not everybody's in that stage of their life when they're younger, for sure. But I think homeownership should be a goal, and I think it is attainable for most Americans.
So I want to say something quickly. I want to go to our friend Ali. That like, and this is sort of to Corey's point earlier, right? He asked me, should these assets, like, would I prefer that these assets only appreciate housing assets? Yeah, like I think the reason why is something that's driving this NIMBYism is once again incentives. That like it's not unreasonable from the perspective of a homeowner, right? No matter what their politics are, right? You can have very left-leaning individuals engaging in exactly this NIMBYism when supposedly it's against their ideology, right? It's not unreasonable from their perspective to say like, well, this is the asset that I have, right? This is the thing that is going to keep me from being on the streets later on in life, or that can pass down to my kids so that they can have a better life. If this is the asset, the thing that you have to protect, well, then yeah, you're going to do a lot to do that, right? Like all the incentives for you are to engage in NIMBYism behavior, and I think that's part of the issue then. That like that shouldn't be the only asset class. Not in different countries they have where people put their money, they park their money is different. Now I'm not saying that other places are necessarily better, right? I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be the case that this is the single asset class that keeps you within the middle class or keeps you out of being the working poor or gives you generational wealth. We can find other asset classes. We can give people a mix of options. And if they do that, right, if they're not betting everything on their house, right, well, then I think they'll give a lot of options. That will a level of friction that we see within the housing market due to public pushback disappears because like there's not their whole life. Yeah. Anyone want to jump in?
No. Yeah. So I'm gonna respond to that. I think the other asset that we're giving people is the idea of an asset, right? So it's like these apartment complexes with all these amenities, right? You feel like you're living in luxury. And I think we need to reframe like owning a house isn't like owning a house is a luxury. It is like owning a home is the most luxurious item you're going to own, and that's why it's going to appreciate in value. It is a sought after item. It's a luxury that Lactoid. I'm sorry, I don't think most Americans own their homes. Maybe if it's like 51% of Americans own their homes, or like people own their homes and they're renting them out to people, right? I'm not saying like companies own them, but I'm saying like a house is a luxury in the same way that like a Birkin bag or like a Rolex is a luxury item that you buy that you're kind of hoping appreciates in value. There aren't too many of them. Not everyone can afford this thing. And the only people that can afford them are going to be people with money. That's the whole idea behind buying your house, especially buying your house in a sought after or an up and coming neighborhood. The new thing, which I said it in the beginning, is like you're not gonna own anything and you're gonna love it, is kind of the idea. this whole idea of owning an asset is more or less going away unless you're buying an investment, right? A car is a depreciating value unless you're buying a classic car. A watch is a depreciating value unless you're buying a Rolex, a bag, so on and so forth. The same thing is happening with the house. The new luxury is living in the location
what
that
makes
you want.
everything that you just listed, what makes them valuable, or like what results in them appreciating?
Rarity and then people's perception, right?
So it's a supply issue.
No. But it's also people. Well, no. It's perception. No, it's perception. Wait. Yeah, people are buying fake. People are buying.
Yeah,
fake
but they're
stuff.
not on the market.
These things are losing their value, right? But to the people that can afford them, right, that can't afford the real, they're always going to purchase. This thing always exists. And it's also a fake scarcity, right? Like the only reason a Birkin bag is so expensive is because Hermes doesn't sell it to everyone.
That's actually the point. Yes,
there's
they
wait. But in the aftermarket, in the resale market, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of Birkins. They're still expensive because they're
more.
Because the perception
walking in the store.
Yeah, their perception is that these things are in the same way that diamonds, right? Diamonds are rare, but they're not. It's just a false scarcity, right? So like. No, the new luxury is not in owning your home, but it's in the location that you live in. If you live in a good part of town versus if you live in a bad part of town, that's your new asset. It's where you live and what you
but
can
be
do
careful
with
what you mean by scarcity, though, right? Like, yes, like diamonds are. My understanding of the diamond market is that it's heavily constricted, right?
Yeah.
By De Beers specifically. Yeah, it's really constricted, right? But like, yes, and they make it less available. And you can call that scarce, but you can apply scarcity to anything.
Excellent job.
And so scarcity, like what I think Hunter was saying and Lactoid was saying previously, scarcity, that word still applies to this housing market, right? And these things still work on supply and demand.
Well,
so like
I understand that they do, but there's also false scarcity within these things. But then there's also like once again the new asset. Like I don't think most people are owning. I think most people are renting. It's just like there wouldn't be all these rental properties.
I linked it to you.
All right, yeah.
So let me. I'm gonna help you out a little bit here, but I'm also gonna back up Lactoid to some degree. People do own houses, but they own houses in places where that are not necessarily. These are not like houses that most people would want to own. Like they include everywhere. They include out 50 miles out in the desert in Arizona. That is still, you're owning a house. If you own a mobile home on a piece of land and that whole thing's worth $50,000,
you own a house. Yeah.
No. That's not how it's calculated. It's calculated whether or not the home is owner occupied. So I linked it to you.
I'm saying if he lives in a mobile home on a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's becoming less common.
A house.
So let me just explain this. You're right.
How do I read this chart,
Lactoid? Let me finish. So, in the same way that we're talking about how the diamonds are constricted and there's a false scarcity value there, it's the same thing with actually land in this country. If you get in a car and you get on 40 and drive from Nashville, Tennessee to Flagstaff, Arizona, and tell me what you see, and it's going to be a lot of nothing, like nothing. But there's land for days. That's what Doobie said earlier. You could buy miles of land for cheap because there's nothing there. And but in the same way that diamonds are super expensive because we've been told they are. And yet rubies, emeralds, and sapphires are rarer and it should be worth more, and yet they're not. And so it's this idea, perceived value has a lot to do with it. That's what I think Ollie's talking about. And
I guess I can understand that as well. Perceived value.
It's a perceived value, right? Like I want to live at this address. I have to live here. I can't live over there. If I live over there, I'm a fucking loser. But if I live here, I'm a fucking winner. And
that's true.
Let me explain the Fred stats now, because this is important. So over time in the United States, as with most developed countries, you're seeing in most countries generally, you're seeing more urbanization. You're actually seeing more and more people moving into suburbs or urban areas and away from rural areas. You still have people living in rural areas in America. You still have this, but it is becoming a percentage of people living in rural areas is overall dropping. Despite this, this is from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. This is one of a couple banks that makes up our Federal Reserve Bank of America. They pull this data from the U.S. Census Bureau, and it tracks percent home ownership rate in the United States. We're currently sitting at 65.7%. It's an interactive chart. You can hover your mouse over at the very end. 65.7%. The absolute peak that we have here is in 2004 at 69.2%, which, if you notice, really isn't as high as you'd think. We've only fluctuated from the highest until now. We've only fluctuated less than 5%. In fact, we are higher now than we were in 1965, the golden days, when home ownership rate was only sitting at 62.9%, which means there were a higher proportion of renters back in the 60s than there are now in America. And so this is one of those things where I think that perception is, you got to be careful about perception, because the reality is a little bit different. People are owning more homes now. People are owning homes more in suburbia. There was a massive push to do this in the 60s and 70s, to push people like into suburbs and into cities away from rural areas, and this has happened. So yeah, about 2/3 of households are living in homes that they own. Only 1/3 are renters, and this is higher than it was in the 60s, but only slightly lower than it was at its peak in 2004.
I think I'm allowed to be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I think this chart's important too, because I agree with you that a lot of the perception, especially amongst younger people, is, well, nobody owns a house. This is incredibly unaffordable, and to some extent, yes, the price of housing has gone up faster than other goods, but because you're spending less money on other goods in proportion to your overall income, the way to think about this should be, this frees up more money to save for housing when it comes time to get housing. And
there's also
one last thing, and then the reason why I think this is, for a couple reasons, I think this is important. First of all, I think owning your own house is just fucking awesome. As a homeowner that bought a fixer-upper,
Yeah, you put up all the Nicki Minaj
did
posters
shit myself.
all over.
Yeah. Not only that, I had to put up all the paint and the flooring and the insulation
and all the flags,
the toilet and the. I've learned shit about plumbing, and it's work. It is work. And have I hurt myself bad sometimes trying to fix shit? Yeah, for sure. Cuts and hammer goes the wrong way. It's just part of the thing. I survived. But home ownership, and this is kind of my I think not for you, Prime, but this is for Grid and Gibbs, my compatriots here on the right wing of the spectrum. We want people to own homes for the same reason why we want them to own guns. When you get people invested in something, that changes their political behavior. One of the best ways you can get somebody to support the Second Amendment is get them financially invested in a firearm. Just point blank. One of the best ways to get people invested in having an established community, being invested in their own financial interest in that community, which pushes them to more right-wing politics, get them to own their own property. It actually helps. Just the fact.
Makes sense. You have more stake in the game. You have more stake.
Renters tend to be left-wing. We don't want the country full of renters. I think it's important that we maintain our home ownership.
But what you're saying is hey, there's incentives, right? Now they have a different set of operating under a different set of incentives, right? If it's to protect this asset class in the specific neighborhood, then they're more bought in, and then they can slowly, their minds can slowly degrade and become Republicans. No, I hear you.
This is my goal.
But everything also, it makes sense. No, but
then you start hating taxes because you're paying that every time instead of rent to the evil landlord. You're paying taxes to the government. That has a psychological effect too.
I would take that trade-off, friend. Right? If we can have more affordable housing and far less homeless individuals.
I think one of the interesting things about the affordable
more in housing and deal with the externalities you were talking about just then.
But once you get enough of us elected, then we're just going to make more homeless people, right? Because that's what we do as right-wingers. Prime.
We'll love to do it.
I think one of the interesting things about this affordable housing idea is that, like I said, I think I know my grandparents didn't own a home until they were in their 30s. And actually, I think their mid 30s. I didn't buy my first house until I was 35. I think there's this mythology built around that you should be in your mid to late 20s and you should buy a house. You should be able to do that. It's certainly possible today because more and more people have more and more disposable income at a younger age. But I don't think that tracks with reality in general, right? Like I just don't know that many homeowners that are super young, unless their parents help them, unless something like that, which is certainly I would like that. I think my brother bought his house. Man, I think he was in his 40s before he was able to buy a house. So I mean, I don't know. I think that,
I will say this is one of the reasons why the 2/3 of homeowners in America is so misleading. It's because young people look at that and they go, "What the hell are you talking about? Everyone I know doesn't own a home." But you ask someone who's 60, they're like, "Everyone I know owns a home. What are you talking about?" So it's weighted in that direction.
So yeah, I agree. And let me go to I would say one of the quick thing. I'm going to go straight to you, Ali. I promise.
Got you.
A quick thing. I think that's also really important, right? Like, I think you just touched on a really important point. Is that like what kind of work is this housing, this asset class doing, right? Is it going to build the wealth of like a young, dynamic group of individuals, or is it held in a certain demographic? Right now, housing is naturally going to like filter up to the older individuals, right? That's just how like life necessarily works. But that doesn't mean there should be interventions for younger cohorts. That doesn't mean that just because, especially since we have an aging population, right? Well, you're saying, well, yeah, there's a lot of people with housing with our aging population, but like, who is actually being left out? I think that's part of the conversation we haven't really touched on. But thank you for that, Hunter. Go ahead, Ali.
It's, I don't know. I don't know how to read these charts. I was just going through all these little ones, and this one's the vacancy chart, which says, pretty much we've been hovering between 5 and 7 of vacancy, except for in the mid 2000s. But like right now, we're doing there's what 7% of apartments are vacant. Is that what the idea is? So there is apartment vacancy available.
Well, you want some vacancy, obviously, so that moving becomes easier. It drives prices down.
Well, also, what when you have a higher vacancy, what that indicates actually is that a percentage of available units is going up,
right?
Because people are moving. So that actually might indicate that we are sort of addressing, or at least making a little bit of a dent here in addressing housing, which kind of makes sense because housing inflation has slowed compared to where it was just a few years ago. Yeah. So.
It's after
you get lost in Fred, though. It's great.
I've got to get out of here. So
have a good one.
All right.
So
Hunter, later, Grid.
Hunter, the only time I've seen a community get together, peace out, Grid, get together and like stop.
It was a great talk tonight. Really enjoyed it. You guys were cool. So
yeah, have a good one.
I got to go. See you. Where at? Right button. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Thank you for sticking with me. That was painful. And I got to go. We'll see you on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, we'll be doing the bitchin', as always, gun prattle. So look for that. In the meantime, as always, be cool. Wear the glasses if you need them. And watch this cool outro of my friend Kel spazzing out.
I'll give you.
No, I'm obviously not. I told you like multiple times that I'm not fucking like gonna respond to like. I can't understand like just a whole like wall of like text. You can like say something and respond or not, but I'm like you're like obviously I'm not gonna engage with your argument like that. Like what? Like that's so lame. That's